everyone, my name's Tara. I'm your host for the evening, and this is the first BlackFest Digital Spoken Word and Poetry Night. We have special guest Zita Holborn. Give us a wave, please. There she is. We are joined today by Parry Richards, Stephanie Robson, make sure you wave, Ade G, Naomi, Jane Sawyer, and Sarah Louise. We're going to hear from all of the artists in their work. Look how beautiful they are, everyone. Firstly, we have Naomi to perform. Naomi is a Liverpool-born writer and model, and she was raised in Florida from the age of 11 and has been back and forth to the UK for the last 4 years. Naomi began writing poetry and short stories around the age of 15 and then went on to pursue a career in modeling by the age of 18, okay? In her early teens, Naomi made her first move to LA, where she worked alongside celebrities such as Snoop Dogg and Chris Brown. I haven't done that, so that's great for me. In October 2019, Naomi published her first book, DNA, a book of poems and excerpts of life, and now working on part 2, whilst also studying her psychology degree and looking forward to a career in helping others. This is Naomi.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so some of the poems that I'm sharing tonight were taken from my last book or will be featured in my upcoming book. The theme behind most of my poetry as of late is mental health and the Black experience from my point of view. I'll be sharing 4 short poems in no specific order, just kind of meshed together as if they were one piece. And I hope you enjoy it. Slowly making her way from the darkness to the light, laying down her sword as if to step back from the fight, turning on and off like a switch on the wall, while she realizes this time it's nothing or all. A self-made rehab in the base of her brain keeps her stuck in a loop of endless pain, yet only she can save herself, so she refrains from calling out for help. And so the world keeps on tearing her down. She's constantly dropping her crown. She needs a reminder of just how beautiful she truly is. And so I proceed in telling her this. Dear Black girl, pick up your head. Stand tall and walk proud. So many tears you've shed. Dear Black boy, pick up your crown. And remember you're a king no matter how much you're put down. Dear Black people, the time has come for us to come together and unite as one. Our emotions run as deep as the oceans and seas. Now together we rise up in this endless fight for peace. Yet in the midst of fighting for peace, I ask myself, when will the violence cease? I'm losing myself within the madness, filled to the brim with sadness. So I ask myself, who is she? She claims she's too busy to even look after herself. She's based her worth on him and her and them, asleep to the lack of respect she receives from men, allowing herself to be treated as an object rather than a human. Who is she? The lack of love she shows to herself is reenacted by the world. She has become the epitome of a broken girl. Her hands still as soft as baby skin, yet she lacks the self-worth needed from within, allowing herself to be defined by everything outside, but at the same time, she struggles to swallow her pride and ask for help. Who is she? She's the type to try to love you into loving yourself, but it's time her codependency gets put on the shelf. She has risen time and time again from the ashes of her past. Now she gets to move forward, pending the removal of this mask. And so she decides to stop hiding in plain sight and for once to represent her identity and put up a fight. She stands firm in her ancestors' skin, allowing their power to reside within. The experience is beyond human. Being Black is an experience all in itself. Black is beautiful. Black is top shelf. I wouldn't trade my brown skin for anything in the world because when it comes to being Black, I'm a very proud girl. I was born in a place where my race was erased and sold to masters with fair skin, yet this still isn't where slavery truly did begin. I'm proud to see that through the storms, my people still flourish and thrive, even if some of us are struggling to stay alive. It's a beautiful thing how we can grow through the pain and still manage to see the sunshine amidst the rain. But in order for us to truly be free, we must rise up from our pain. Oppression cannot be the name of the game for all time. Eventually, we get to learn to free our own minds. Thank you.
Yes.
Woo!
Energy.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow, you really tapped into a part of me when I was young and very vulnerable, trying to fit in because I was the only Black person. You touched on mental health. Like, what inspired you there to focus on those points?
My own mental health mostly, and just my desire to help others with theirs.
Is there any particular events in your life that have happened or anything that you've seen on the news that sparked this kind of poetry? Or is it more just for your own personal experience?
Well, obviously, like this year has been a crazy year, and there's been a lot of things happening that I feel like have really affected the Black community and myself personally. So a lot of my poetry has always been emotion based, but this year I feel like I tapped into parts of myself that I never had before, and I'm sharing even more deep and vulnerable parts of me. So it's really nerve-wracking, but it's like I feel like it's very rewarding at the same time.
Okay, very beautiful. I loved how I tapped into your mind a little bit. And also, you said you're a psychology student, so I'm guessing you get inspired from there as well.
I just started, but it's been something I've been passionate about for a long time.
Amazing. Where can we find you on social media? Let the people know where we can find your book.
So my book is on Amazon. The link will be on my Instagram after tonight, because right now I have the link for this up. But it's on Amazon. You can get it all over the world. And my Instagram is at Naimi J Soya. So that's NAAMIJSOYA.
Amazing. Everyone, applause for Naomi, please. Okay, thank you. Yes, I want to see you clapping. Well done, well done, well done. Amazing. That was lovely. Thank you for performing as the first person. It's nerve-wracking. Now we have Miss Sarah Louise, and I'm going to introduce you to her. She was born in Ireland to parents of Nigerian and Guyanese descent, and has been given a beautiful, complex, and insight into the world, which has helped her define her identity. Her journey through self-awareness is heavily reflected upon her poetry. She loves scribbling on paper and being a positive influence to other people's lives. Performing at many spoken word nights in the Northwest has allowed her to connect to people from different walks of life. In February 2020, her work was published alongside 30 other writers in a Change of the Word anthology. Firstly, she also founded a female collective called the Society of Queens, which was incredible, alongside her sister, and to create a network for young people. In the hope to empower Black young women like herself, she's growing up in the UK to achieve the unthinkable. This is Sarah Louise.
Hi. So I'm going to perform 4 poems for you guys tonight. The first one is heavily influenced by one of my favorite spoken word artists of all time, Rudy Francisco. And I really racked my brain on how I would present myself to you guys, and I thought another poem would suffice. So here goes. I was born January 22nd. That makes me what? Aquarius? Yeah, whatever that means. I'm 5'9" or 5'10", and I don't know how to sing, but I do it anyway. I savor the smell of pepper pot on Christmas morning. I'm still learning how to draw. I color outside the lines and let my thoughts run wild, and sometimes I sketch crooked stick men like a young child. I was born head first and my brain's been scrambled ever since. I like waking up before sunrise to soak in God's bubblegum skies. I've been told I'm a closed book. Friends say, you should open up more. It's probably because I've been hurt before. Secretly, I get really nervous when I'm asked to perform. I have this odd fascination with blood orange sunsets and bonfires. I assume I like them because they fuel my short bursts of creativity. I guess that's why I tend to cherish fleeting moments with temporary people. You see, memories remind me that I'm not afraid of love or the latter, but I'm scared to death of everything that's going to happen the very moment I let them go. Okay, I know this sounds really weird, but I wonder what my mirror thinks about this curvy, dark-skinned girl in its sight. I wonder what my framed pictures whisper when my lid's finally shut at night. So hi, my name's Sarah Louise. I enjoy traveling, taking selfies, and doing whatever makes me feel good. But I don't allow myself to take a break as often as I should. My hobbies include editing my poems, hiding behind these analogies, and trying to convince you that I'm someone worth listening to. My second piece is called Burning Mirrors, and I wrote this during quarantine, which has been a period of self-reflection for me. So I will. Fire crackling, spitting out fumes, choking my lungs, engulfing my room. Perched on the bed, I set my gaze upon patterned white walls still set ablaze. Memories dwindle in the crescent shadow, a bitter residue at the back of my throat. As the deep purple sky thickens into night, my reflection sits right there on the horizon of my window pane. Crystal clear, I raise my right palm, and so do you, echoing my every move. Eyes locked, my mirror, but fingerprints taint the view. Web-like silhouettes spin my thoughts into solid threads, endlessly seeping through the cracks of my shattered lips. This crooked journey I must travel, dragging my limp feet along the gravel. I'm going, can you see? I'm going, bear with me. I'm gone, set free. As the embers die down, feather-like smoke skips into my room to blanket me to sleep. Okay, so this third piece is called Lost Girl, and it's more of a free write that I wrote in a response to the video that was being constantly shared around when George Floyd passed. So I'll just let it speak for itself. May 25th, 7:03 a.m. Eyelids flicker open, iris glued to the screen, harrowing pixels display a man begging to be free. Mama, I can't breathe. Another life lost. Black man, do not fear, stand tall and bear all the pain, bear all the suffering, bear all the anguish, but do not fear. Black is power. Black is beautiful. Black is gold. Black is my sense of hope in humanity, lost. Baby Elijah, lost. Aunt Briona, lost. Uncle George, lost. Shukri, gone too. My heart weeps for all of you, a river of blood I stream down to, because you are me and I am you. Until this stops, we will forever be the few. My last piece is called Bruck Up Backyard, and this one is probably like the most personal one to me. It's an elegy, which for poets that's a eulogy, but just in a poem form. So yeah. Your nurturing palms at birth cradled me. Cocoa bark contoured your paralyzed frame. Berry limbs like a swollen coconut tree, palm larvae gnaw at your flickering flame. Hollow trunk withers, Yahweh no longer let in. Hands clasped in prayer, frailties finally set in. Coconut jelly dry up, emaciated white flesh, shell shriveled like a prune, palm uprooted a little too soon. Returning to where you once reigned, childhood swiftly slipped away, feathered fronds shed from trees barren. Orchids hung their heads today, your psalm composed in the heavens. Sharp, splintered teardrops shroud my view. Sade along the pews, he cannot walk with you. Shaitan, why are you tap dancing in my field? Thank you.
That was so beautiful.
Yes. Oh my goodness, can we just...
Got me crying.
Incredible. I feel like I learned a bit about you per poem. I love the one about George Floyd. So who is your main inspiration when it comes to poetry?
I think obviously that as a child, my main inspiration was ultimately Maya Angelou. But now I'm more inspired about things that are going on in my inner world and how I can portray that to others and make them almost feel what I'm feeling, but also understand that, you know, I can relate in the same way. And I think that's something that's really important with poetry, that it's not just about the writer, and other people connect to your words in a really profound way. And it's important for you to be able to package that and put that out into the world.
I agree. Coming from a very powerful queen, guys. So in terms of like the future, do you see yourself writing your own poetry book, or being featured in other books that you know? Like what is the career path, do you think, for your poetry?
So currently I've just been like accepted into a fellowship program. So I'll be mentored by one of my fave poets here in England, Malika Booker. She's Guyanese and Grenadian, so you know, family. So yeah, that's for the next 6 months. So I will be working on a lot more poetry and basically carving my own pieces and making them more palatable for people to read. And I would ultimately like to have my own collection one day. I think that's always been the goal.
Okay. You mentioned earlier it was like a fleeting emotion with temporary people.
Yeah.
I feel like that was quite personal to you, like at that moment. Could you explain that line or briefly?
I find it very hard to be vulnerable with people. So I kind of conceal my emotions. So I feel as though I never find, like, there are good people in my life, I'm not saying that they're not, but I tend to find that I enjoy having good times with people for short bursts of for short bursts of time, but they don't actually kind of know the root of where I'm from and, you know, what I've been through or what I'm even currently going through, because I don't let them in. So it's, to me, it's a fleeting moment because no one truly understands who Sarah Louise is. And with my poetry, that's where I get to be vulnerable. And I think that's why I get so emotional when I perform, because that's me letting other people into a part of me that I don't usually share.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that is really interesting. I think we all have a persona, don't we? We don't let people into our inner selves or our inner voices. But that was very beautiful. Please, round of applause for Sarah, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Any comments from the poets or anyone in the crowd? Also, feel free to unmute yourselves, please, so you can have a bit of dialogue. Okay, so the next person who's going to perform is Mr. Parry Richards. Give everyone a wave. Let me introduce him. He is a multidisciplinary artist who has been acting, writing, and performing across a number of projects and platforms since graduating from university with a drama degree in 2016. Parry has previously worked with a number of theatre companies, both local and nationwide, has attended Rose Brunford Drama School, masterclasses, and writes/performs his own poetry independently. This is Parry Richards, everyone.
Just a quick check, Sarah, can you hear me? I've got my hands free in.
I can hear you clearly.
Good,
yeah?
Great. Cool. Right. So, yeah, so I'm Parry Richards. I'm just going to get straight into it. I'm going to start with a poem that was written a long time ago. It was probably the first poem that I wrote to be performed. It was about a girl that I used to know back in the day. It's called Free Sheets to the Wind. She drinks tequila on the high streets. High as a kite, she's looking free sheets. To the wind, eyes are confessing her sins. I don't know where to begin. You see, she never had the best beginnings, raised only by women, born in a prison, the society destined her to. She was destitute, worse than the rest of you, behind the bars of stereotypes and bars, and drunkenly falling out of flash cars at the end of the night. Beauty, true heavenly sight. She can have any man she wants to, but she won't do without, like her mother, scrounging about for coppers to put food on the table. It's her assets, not love, that enables her to attract the clientele of the wealthy. But in her hopes to live wealthily, her lifestyle soon turns unhealthy. When her nose becomes the source of her woes, out on the town, her pants are easily falling down. I said she's out on the town, her pants are easily falling down. And it's as hard as the world goes, and it's nothing that her mother doesn't know. I said it's as hard as the world goes, and it's nothing that her mother doesn't know, nothing. And there's no stopping the 17-year-old daughter, barely enough money for bread and water. So what kind of life can she offer in exchange? So she follows the page, continuously burning the rage. So she follows the page, trying to positively channel that rage that vents up inside of her, at a father who just wasn't there and just didn't seem to care. The whole night was a blur. All that she knew was rubbers wasn't an issue. So she ended up with her face buried in them tissues and them cuts and bruises. So she refuses to tell her daughter exactly what type of man her dad was, at wherever the cost, and if anything, it's his loss. And if there ever was a possibility for that coward and her daughter to meet, she'd be going back to being free sheets. I said if there ever was a possibility for that coward and her daughter to meet, she'd be going back to being free sheets. She's looking free sheets to the wind, eyes are confessing her sins. She's looking free sheets to the wind, eyes are confessing her sins. So she thinks it's been the longest cocktail party ever, and she hasn't missed a weekend, whatever the weather. And if it is fun, that's her endeavor. Then not knowing when to stop, she isn't so clever. And if it's free, she refuses never. And if it's a man flashing the cash, yo.
Can you just pause a bit because there's a bit of a cracky sound with your headphones?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah?
Yeah, do you want me to? I'll just go off.
You're doing great though. It sounds very interesting. Okay. Continue. Go on.
Sorry. Oh God, where was I up to? Okay. I'll just start from the second verse. Now she thinks it's been the longest cocktail party ever, and she hasn't missed a weekend, whatever the weather. And if it is that's fun, that's her endeavor, then not knowing when to stop, she isn't so clever. And if it's free, she refuses never. And if it's a man flashing the cash, she's free whenever, wherever. I said she hasn't missed a weekend, whatever the weather. I said she hasn't missed a weekend, whatever the weather. Because them guys can offer her the life of luxury, expensive gifts on offer for her company. And funnily, she knows that only after one thing, face down, ass up, no talk of a ring. She knows no love, but still her heart sings. It's still face down, ass up, no talk of a ring. She's looking free sheets to the wind as a confessing her sin. She's looking free sheets to the wind as a regretting her sins. So she's 25 now and she's looking a bit worse for wear. 8 years of partying has shown its wear and tear. So she's looking back still, blaming her father who wasn't there. But now there's less men and family to show a fuck or care. She cries, comprised the night now. After that, she's out and about, walking past the workmen. She doesn't get a shout. With her little daughter walking hand in hand, it seems things just didn't work out the way that she had planned. And there's no sign of a man to offer a helping hand. Daddy isn't coming home, sweetheart. He's waiting on remand from the coppers for supplying people's narcotical hobby. While on the other hand, mother and daughter have reached the lobby of this damp and derelict building. But that's just the way they're living now that she believes things are never gonna change. So she follows the page, trying to positively channel that rage that she can't project upon to the daughter. Maybe she should have fought her all of this while she was out acting loose, when in reality she was doing is tightening the noose on the neck of their mental emancipation from the Council of State proclamation. And now that she's over, and now that it's over, raising a child on her own, where are all of those flash Harrys that she used to know, running from shift to shift to keep her life on the go? Now where are all of those flash Harrys that she used to know? She's looking free sheets to the wind as a confessing her sins. She's looking free sheets to the wind as a regretting her sins. And that was that one. Yeah, so then I'm just going to do two short ones next. These were written for BlackFest, actually, the last BlackFest show that we did. This one's called Stories. You can write stories like a Nancy or a Fellow, lead like Garvey or Celeste.
Oh, sorry. Quick question for your previous poem. Who is she? Like, you mentioned she. Who is this person you're talking about?
It was a fictional character that was based on a story of, well, a girl that I knew years ago.
Oh, okay. Did she inspire you to write this like poem? Like, what was it about her that made you feel that you wanted to talk about her?
She just led a very interesting life, and I just thought it was a good story.
Okay.
Cool. So go again. Stories. Yeah, cool. You can write stories like a Nancy or a Fellow, lead like Garvey or Selassie, entertain and enlighten like Oprah or Angelo, make music like Beyonce or Big Nasty, act like Octavia or Viola, Denzel or Oyelowo, punch like Adams, Joshua or Buatsi, score like Sterling or Aluko, inspire like Obama, Abbott or Sir Leary, fight like Doreen Lawrence or Lauder Equiano, or race like Hamilton or Linford Christie. Let's be done with the stereotypes of what it means to be black in Western society, and teach our kids that the colour of your skin shouldn't determine who you can and cannot be. Be black, be bold, most of all, be free. Cool. Shall I go straight into the next one, Tara? You good with that? Cool. Okay. Yeah, the other short one, sorry guys, bear with me. So this one is called, I just called this one Black. Its history has either been erased from time or placed in shackles. Its very wording is associated with mostly negativity. Its people are paraded and portrayed as criminal or lazy, and its champions often seem to forget about the culture from which they came, not speaking out enough and even ignoring all the pain. But then, all of a sudden, nothing was the same. One day that theorized and prophesied day finally came, the straw that broke the camel's back. A man by the name of our English patron saint was slain, and being black would never, ever be the same again. Cool. Then
this one came to me when I was posed a question, what it was like to be mixed race. And this was a response that I decided to come up with. What is it like to be mixed race? What is it like to be mixed race? It is an answer that I've so often chased, as if somehow connected to my fate, from how I interface and relate to how I create, in a world where such things hold so much weight. I'm very often questioned what it is like to be mixed race. Now, my answer will always come from a personal base, but make no mistake, what I state is still commonplace. And as of late, it feels like I'm constantly involved in internal debate. With your question so ambiguously laced in this conflictual space, ask me again what it is like to be mixed race. While the news is still riddled with hate, hearing stories of the young black boy's fate, like 5 stabbings a day is suddenly the going rate. What advice would you take to stop police stopping you on your predominantly white estate? Like, don't wear a hood after 8, or alter your vocab to say things like obvious, not bait, never slouch walking straight, and accept that for one side of me, Trump's America won't ever be all that great. You might not understand what it's like being mixed race. So here's the preface. When an impression has already clearly been made, no matter what I might say or may have said in a different way, some still believe that I'm somehow debased. Sometimes I can feel really out of place, like I'm too white for black embrace, but still a target for racist hate. The colour in my face is too much not to trace. Do not rise to it, Parry, I mostly say, but with the fire of my Jamaican roots gleaming in sun's rays, like them Afro-screaming boys in the 70s back in LA, I'll negate all the hate and scream up loudly and proudly into the heavens and space. I'm damn fucking proud of being mixed race. Cool. Now, this, cool. You okay with me carrying on, Katara? Am I still, yeah, cool. Now, this one came after, it's not very PG, this one, I won't say, but it came after smoking a little and doing some research on Nostradamus for some strange reason. I found out that he was a Sagittarius, and I always wanted to write a poem about me. Like it was for something that I had to do, because I wrote lots of poems about different people's stories, so I needed something that was going to be about me and my feelings. This is called, now I may not be Nostradamus, but I am a Sagittarius. I often feel alien to this reality, like there must be another galaxy out there somewhere, in absence of a bourgeoisie, with a media reporting facts without sensationalized hyperbole, or where war isn't ongoing constantly. I don't know, maybe it's me. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should suddenly become peace-loving vegans who pray religiously. I'm just saying, surely, for fuck's sake, surely, this isn't the best it could be. I don't know, maybe it's me. Now, I've got a lot to say, and yes, I've smoked a bit of weed. It's no cover up, one love, move on and be free. And if it were up to me, legalization is a law I would guarantee. Now, just listen to me. Just listen to me. I'm not saying that it's for everybody. And there's a time that I know that it won't be for me. But if guns, tobacco, alcohol, prescription pills, and all other big killers are in a sense or innocently legal, then why am I getting arrested for the bud of a tree? I don't know. Maybe it's me. I grew up seeing certain shit certain kids didn't have to see, and yeah, that's not an excuse, and you mightn't agree, though we each have our own vices, you see. Whether it's booze, weed, sex, MCAT or MD, ketamine, definitely no heroin, and be wary of the old nose candy, but whatever tickles your fancy, in moderation, that's fine by me. Though kids, remember, Sid killed Nancy. Now go on to have your moment to judge my relaxed stance on drugs. Go on, feel free. I don't know. That's just me. But there are many other parts of me. I'm your friendly neighbourhood scouser with a warped through of your reality who's far from carefree. I often, however, like to sit alone with a warm cup of tea, reading hours upon hours of Charles Bukowski, or watching spoken word videos on my TV. And it may not be traditional, but rap is just as stimulating to me And if life is indeed mapped out, then music would surely be its key. I don't know, maybe it's me. Now I'm pretty left-wing, the Queen's irrelevant, and I definitely don't need a new king. However, black lives do matter. So maybe a Dr. King? Oh, I said it, go on, condemn me. You'll be glad to hear I also ridicule the institution of the church, but interestingly, never succumb to blasphemy. I respect all beliefs, just institutions. What happens after this, I cannot foresee. However, I do know this. I believe in God just as much in church as I do in, say, the fields of Glastonbury. So why not let the homeless live in them big old buildings for free? I don't know. Maybe it's me. Right, now you must be thinking, who's this guy to even try and tell me? Please refrain from such a strain. There's no point in getting angry. I'm not preaching, I gave that up. I'm just telling it as I see. And as hard and as frustrating as this life can so often be, this is just my little way to try and blow off some steam and tell you a little bit more about me. From one self-loathing narcissist to an ever-fulfilling prophecy. Is the glass hardly full or hardly empty? While inside I'm raging anarchy, to the naked eye I'm gleefully free. Often opinionated, sometimes artsy, spiritually emancipated, mixed race actor, poet, writer, scout, scally. Caught in a perpetually screaming cycle of ongoing continuous misery, with a juxtapositional counterpoint of also containing unimaginable beauty. I don't know. Maybe it's me. That's that one, Tara. Have I got loads of time left, or am I near out? Can I go one more? No,
Continue. Do what you want to do because I'm enjoying it. I'm having a great time. Continue,
Cool.
please. Yeah.
Cool. I'll go for it then. This one is not to lower the tone quite, but this one, well, not to bring it down to just a disclaimer. It's about abortion, so I hope that everyone is okay with this. It was written from a really good project I was involved in with a theatre company called 20 Stories High. It ended up going on to be a national theatre. It ended up going on a national tour and ended up being a BBC programme.
Yeah, I watched that as well. It was brilliant on TV.
But I wrote a poem to a response to some of the stories because I gave an interview for the said program. So yeah, this is it's not written from my perspective. It's written from the perspective of somebody else who had children, and it was from actual collection of stories. But here we go. It's called The Forgotten One. Now, I'm not here to profess some sort of superior intellect on the matter. As I watch his tiny feet pitter-patter through the hallway, I remember the day. I remember the day. The day that she told me. The day I had to let go of the old me. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Fears and premonitions of a father-to-be. We'd only just started going out, but I knew in my heart there was never a doubt. I'd admired her for years, throughout all of the others and subsequent tears, even after all of the fists and all of the fears, all the while wanting more than to just hold her near. It left her weary, scared. We were all the same. Suspicions of it all ending in a similar vein. For a while she found it difficult to let go of the pain. However, I fought tooth and nail to distinguish my name. Ahead of the fools that had gone before, to prove me superior to her I adore. Time it took for her to open the door, sensing a heart only love could cure. And a heart, a ship I felt destined to sail. And for a while it was like all of those magical tales. Oh, how my stomach did flutter when those three words she uttered. Oh, how my stomach did flutter when those three words she uttered. Oh, how my stomach did flutter when repeatedly I muttered. Now, I'm not here to profess some sort of superior intellect on the matter. As I watch his tiny feet pitter-patter through the hallway, I remember the day. I remember the day. I remember her hysterically crying. I remember me asking her why and her lying. I remember the locked bathroom door and her hiding. Me stood there sighing and vying for answers. Was this the end of our romance? Cause I don't want to leave it to chance. Come take my hand, let us dance. She opened the door and looks frightened. I said, who's hurt you? I'll go find them. Tears streamed down her face, her grip tightens. Not hearing the thunder, just seeing the lightning. Dear sweet, she said as my chest met her head. I'm pregnant. And my heart immediately filled with dread. How can I afford to provide? How can we survive with a child? As more and more questions compiled, I felt like a lost boy in the wild. I asked how she felt, she lied and said fine. I said how many weeks, and she replied 9. And as I staggered back, nearly falling off my feet, is when again she said them 3 words to me, so quickly repeated by me, ever so ferociously. Now the room filled with a doubt we could both clearly see in each of our eyes. This was just a huge surprise to both of us, and thus this was more than just impractical. For our survival, we'd have to think tactical. We couldn't manage his studies and me working part-time. This is more than the next step. This was the climb. She looked me dead in the eye and said, this is not just a decision of mine. So we continued to talk for hours and decided it just wasn't our time. Now, I'm not here to profess some sort of superior intellect on the matter. As I watch his tiny feet pitter-patter through the hallway, I remembered the day. I remembered the day. I remember the day we went to the clinic. For me, I had no idea what was the system. I looked to her in a hope to mimic, and surprisingly, she looked like the victim, sad and upset, like she'd done something wrong. The room was almost full. The wait was surely long. Please look at me, darling. Together we're strong. She always laughed at my singing, so I soothed her with a song. Now listen to me closely. We're both in this together. I've never loved you more, my dear. The storm will surely weather. She said, you know, I'm just saying, just not right now. I'm definitely not saying never. I said, as long as you're with me, Petal, you know I'm here forever. Time had elapsed and her name was eventually called. I took a look around the room until that point I'd ignored. I saw so much pain in there. It made our decision seem unsure, but on we must go, I knew, although from my heart blood poured. With tears filling up her eyes, she squeezed tightly on my hand. No, you can't come in with him, sir. I don't care what you demand. Look, I'll not be leaving this woman's side so long as I can stand. But on deaf ears, my protests fell. The rule was all men were banned. So she faced it alone, a situation unknown, just as I did myself. No support on offer for mental health. Through my conscience I did delve, weighing worth and wealth. However, at this point, I remember their smile and how I hadn't seen in a while, and how even the thought of just having a child had forced our love into exile. Now, I'm not asking for justification or sympathy. I just want you to know the other side of the story. For if love were some magnificent symphony, then the pulse of a piano would certainly be obligatory. Now, I'm not here to profess some sort of superior intellect on the matter. As I watched his tiny feet pitter-patter through the hallway, I remembered the day that she graduated, the day our wedding was dated, the poems that we quoted, the deposit on our house we posted, the day I got promoted. You see, life is not a choice of just the protesters. It was for her and I. I promised I'd follow her to the ends of time. For her, if asked, I'd die. But now, as we watch our son in the hallway as he runs, I do not regret our decision, you see. Alas, what's done is done. Nevertheless, I'll forever remember our other. Never will you be, never ever will you be, the forgotten one. And that was that. And that's me done, Tara. Is it? Yeah, I'll do. Cool.
Guys, can we get some
Thanks.
volume, because that was incredible. Wow. Perry did not
Was the
expect
first
it.
one really
The
crappy?
first one, I think you had like a rhythm, like you were rapping.
Yeah.
There was definitely
and
like
it
a
was too
flow
fast.
that I liked. What did you think, Sarah?
Cool. Yeah. No,
Yeah, I
cool.
was gonna say the first couple poems seemed really politically poignant, and you perform with such vigor that like I can literally feel the words. It's really beautiful. I really enjoyed listening to you.
Anyone else? Any opinions? Any comments? No? Okay, so you touched on being mixed race, and I like the juxtaposition that you had with you trying to decide which side to be, white or black. And I have friends who can definitely relate to you. My sister's mixed. Do you feel that do you identify more with your black side or your white side? Like I'm not sure like what the end
So
was. I'm just mixed. Was that was very poignant and very like clear at the end? Can you expand a bit?
cool. Yeah. So just to clear up, the terminology is already, it always creates an issue because I know some people don't feel comfortable being described as mixed race, and
Yeah.
it's just it came from a question that I was posed by somebody, so that's why I use that as the terminology. Personally, I don't really mind it, but I understand some people don't like it. And to be fair, I've definitely always associated more with my black side simply because of that's how I'm treated. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's not like I don't really like. Don't get me wrong. I love my white side of my family as much as I love my black side. I don't care what color of the skin you are. However, when I used to run an experiment when I was in university, actually, and I used to like. I don't know whether this is a black thing or it's just a culture sort of streetwear thing. But if I'd go into the Tesco, after I finished university, and I was dressed in like a shirt and maybe like so smart and whatnot, then I guess no one would say nothing, and not like, well, no one would say nothing anyway, but I wouldn't be followed around or anything. And then if I went in on my day off in a cap and some baggy trousers or something like that, the Tesco security guard all of a sudden decided that I needed to be followed around. So yeah, little things like that just sort of keep me grounded to know that I still gotta fully identify with the black culture because I feel the pain just as much as anybody else. And it's actually quite insulting when people think that I've never felt such pain just because I'm lighter than other, you know what I mean, other people within our community. So yeah, definitely I do concentrate on, well, not concentrate, associate myself with the black side. So yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Who are the people that are asking you these questions, who are asking you to pick a side? Is it like black people, white people? Is it a mixture?
I don't know. I've been posed that question. I've been posed I grew up very multicultural, I'd say. My dad was the race discriminations officer for the Liverpool 8 Law Centre around the time when Anthony Walker was killed, and our whole city was feeling racial injustice really hard and deeply. So I've always had a real sense of oneness with my black side. But I grew up in a predominantly white area. Most of the kids I went to school with were white and stuff like that. So I was always felt like the odd one out, and always posed this sort of question around my white friends, or for example, in university when a lecturer decided to handshake the kid next to me and fist bump me. Like, it's just something I've always felt, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So. No, I can understand. I grew up in a predominantly white area, went to a white school. People would always say, why do you sound so white? And I didn't have the same experience as a mixed race person, but I can understand how frustrating it is when someone's trying to belittle your race, because I'm black. Like, you can identify as black in many different forms. But yeah, I feel like as society we're moving into a more fluid state, especially with the whole Black Lives Matter. White people are also seeing that we're having struggles and they're appreciating our voices. But yeah, what else I want to touch on? You mentioned something about homelessness. And I know you're from Liverpool. When I was studying there was a lot of empty buildings that were not being used. Were you inspired by that, or was this more just generically the homelessness in Liverpool?
both, to be honest. Since the Tories came in,
Oh
homelessness
yeah.
is massively on the rise, and you don't even need the statistics to see that. You can just walk around the streets. I remember 10 years ago, I'd nowhere near seen as many rough sleepers in doorways, and now all of a sudden they're everywhere. And at the time, the homelessness comment came from, I was having I used to be quite religious when I was younger. I'd go to Christian youth group every week. It was just something that was a part of me and the way I grew up. And then got to like 15, 16, started questioning the church, and I had real issues with a lot of scandals that were going on, because like my parents were Roman Catholic, and a lot of things that were happening within the church and questions that couldn't be answered. So that line came from me being angry with the church and the not being able to tackle the homelessness problem. So I was like, well, why don't we just let the homeless live in the church for free? You know what I mean? Why can't we just do that? They're meant to be a charitable, you know what I mean, there for the people. So yeah, that's where that line came from. But yeah, if you walk around the streets of Liverpool, homelessness is massively on the rise. Not just Liverpool, Manchester, all your main big cities. It's getting much, much worse. So that is definitely something we need to look at a lot more.
100%. Thank you very much. I also wanted to talk to you, the poetry, the abortion poem. You spoke from like a man's perspective. You don't really hear that voice. What inspired you to do that? Like, is there one person that you met in your life, or?
That was pretty much the whole idea of it. Like we were discussing, I was involved in the preliminary research for that program, as I said, and we were doing interviews and talking, and they were asking what the male perspective is on it, because it's not something that really gets spoke about like by males. And part of my interview, I said, listen, when I was growing up in school, it wasn't something that lads ever really spoke about. It was just like a sort of taboo subject and stuff like that. So I really, like, that came from the idea of and then I heard a story. It was adapted from a couple of different stories, but there was one specific one that stood out to me, and it was obviously for anonymity, I can't say who it was, but it was a person who was just telling me about the time that him and his girlfriend went through having an abortion. And yeah, so I really captured the male perspective of that, and how I didn't realize, I don't know whether it's changed now, and I don't know how accurate this is, from the research, there was one of the stories, as I said, came from a person, and he told me that men weren't allowed in the room with the woman while they were having the abortion. And I just thought that was absolutely ludicrous. I was like, what, since when, where, how have I never not known this? This is because the information's not there. So yeah, that was something that I thought really stood out. So I had to include that coming from the male perspective of things. And it was really just little things that don't really get spoken about. Obviously, it's well, you know what I mean? It's an experience that happens to people, and it's a lot of the time focused on the woman, which is rightly so. It's a woman's body and everything goes on there. That's fine. But I just wanted to give a little taster of what it would be like for a man inside a man's head during that experience, because it's not, sometimes abortion's seen as like the man has pushed it sometimes, because there's cases of men who do who try and abandon the children.
Yeah, I
and
understand.
that is just so yeah, that was it. Cool.
No, thank you for that. I definitely learned a lot from you. Does anyone have any comments? We touched briefly on colorism. Anyone want to speak on any topics? Any comments? I can unmute you, by the way. I can. Or can I? Or maybe I can't. No, I can't. Please. I want to have some sort of dialogue between us, because it would be nice to hear your opinion. Anyone have anything to say? Stephanie, I can see you. Oh, Zita, hello.
Hi. Yeah, I thought they were really powerful pieces. And actually, the piece on abortion, you don't really hear anybody really doing poetry on that, let alone a man. So I think that was quite brave of you to, tackle that subject and share it with us. So thank you for that. about being of dual heritage and identity, it's actually made me think about changing one of the poems I was going to share in my set and changing it to another one that addresses those issues. So I might save my comments on that and share it through that poem.
Okay.
And yeah, so far the pieces have been really beautiful, really powerful and deep. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you to all the performers as well. Harry, just touching on your topic of colorism and your experiences in uni, I can definitely relate. It's really one of those things where experiences definitely make you stronger and definitely make you open up your eyes and just being more open to what's going on around us, and sometimes be able to understand the unsaid as well. So I loved it. Beautiful work.
No, I definitely agree.
I could also relate to the when you were talking about being the only Black person. Like, since I've moved back to the UK, I find that everywhere, whether I'm at a job, college, like I'm always the only Black girl, and it's really strange for me because in America I had a lot of Black friends and I was always around Black people, so it's hard to adjust to.
Like, I'm Black. Sarah, do you have any opinion on like being dark skinned? Have you had, what's your experience been like?
I feel like I haven't had any outwardly negative experiences, but obviously there are certain things, especially in specific industries, that affect darker skinned women. And it's not just only us as Black women, it's also South Asian women. Yeah. And I think within our community, because of our history, there's reasons why, you know, those people of lighter skin are held to a certain standard or almost given certain liberties to do things and, you know, reach, I guess, certain like heights in work or, you know, whether it be the entertainment industry, whether you're in the corporate world, we're aware of it. My mother's had experiences and she went to the bar and did law. And I think I feel as though the people who are privileged in a sense shouldn't look at it as a negative thing, but use it to assist other people, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Because we are aware that light skin privilege is a thing, or being of lighter skin, you have certain privileges over those who may be darker skin, and it's not for you to almost feel a type of way. And I think it's also unfair because I do see on Twitter a lot darker skinned people sometimes kind of attack, like there's this, you know, back and forth where everyone's attacking each other, but we're all Black, we're all the same. So it's how can we help each other to get to where we need to get to and to progress? Because if we're fighting, we're not getting anywhere because we're just having this quarrel between us and the world's still moving. So I think to me, that's what's most important. I think helping each other to get to where we need to get to and not accusing each other of things that we can't help. No one can help being born a lighter skin. Like, you don't decide that. And no one should feel any type of way because of their skin color. So yeah.
I definitely think that we need to work in the Black community. Well, like historically, people who had lighter skins were put inside the house in the slave trade, and then people with darker skin were put outside. And there was the divide was caused so we can cause conflict and not focus on the actual on the people who are making us the puppets of their own I'm not sure how to describe this. I froze. But anyway, so you mentioned earlier how people with like lighter skin and darker skin, because I'm Rwandan, my parents experienced the genocide. and there was a division between the Hutu and Tutsis. And Tutsi people are quite lighter skinned, and then Hutus are usually darker. And at the time, the country was ruled by Belgium, and the ruler would prefer to have Tutsi people next to him. So Tutsi people were educated, they were given high positions in jobs, whereas Hutus were told to work on farms. So they caused that divide between Black people, and that's why there was war. We have to be very cautious of who is causing us to fight. And a lot of my white friends, they didn't realize this, or they were aware of their privilege, but they didn't act on it as much as they are now. And I think we should have these open discussions with people at work, with our family members, just so we can move towards a more equal society. I'm not sure whether that would happen anytime soon with like me being alive, but I am seeing progression, especially with my younger sister. It is definitely a move forward to what we want to achieve. And anyone have any opinions on privilege? Anyone want to say anything?
Just back to the mixed race thing, sort
Yeah.
of. Yeah, I agree with what everyone's saying, and yet there's a lot more. There's probably privilege to being lighter skinned. Like if Obama was jet black, do you really think he'd have been voted in for president? There's all kinds of things like people dyeing the skin and stuff to try and make themselves appear lighter to get some sort of better social status and stuff like that. And that is obviously aware, but I gotta go back to as well feeling out of place, especially when you are mixed race, not just lighter skin Black or something like that, because you're not liked by the white people, and sometimes you don't seem to be accepted by the Black people either. So it comes with its own set of problems. I'm not saying one's worse or one's less or anyone. We've all got problems as Black people.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone's problems should be, don't get me wrong, yes, white people may feel more comfortable, or I don't understand the psychology behind it. I'm not in tune with that, but whether they feel more comfortable or whatever it is that they think why we seem to have lighter skinned people getting onto tellies and stuff like that ahead of darker skinned people and stuff like that, maybe I don't understand, but even still, I'd say that there's still problems across the board, you know what I mean? And I would never look down on anyone's own problems. We've all got shit going on, you know what I mean? But
yeah, no, I agree. I think sometimes everyone wants to be accepted, but you have to accept yourself first in order to accept others. And some people struggle with that because of the way society has told them they're not worthy, that they are too dark, too light. I have an Asian friend who's beautiful, but growing up, her aunties would tell her that she would never find a husband because her skin is dark. That's what they would tell her. So she grew up thinking that she would never find a husband, but she's found her friends within Black people because she was insecure about herself. So there's definitely a knock-on effect with how we view light skin, dark skin, and mixed race as well. But having these discussions, I think, can help. And we're moving forward, which is great. But guys, I went in there a bit deep, I'm sorry. And the next performer is Zita. Hello, beautiful. Zita is a poet, artist, activist, trade union, community and human rights campaigner and activist, a visual artist, curator, poet, vocalist. Zita is the co-founder and national chair of Black Activists Rising Against Cuts, UK, established in 2010 and campaigning against the disproportionate impact of cuts and austerity on Black and minority ethnic workers, service users and communities, and on the wider racism and injustice they and other deprived communities have faced. Here is Zita, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction and for having me here at this event. I've been listening to the discussion and listening to contributions, and I keep wanting to change what poems I'm doing. I might change my mind halfway through my set on something, because literally everything we've just spoken about, I feel like I've probably got a poem on every one of those topics. So it's kind of made me want to completely change my set, but I'm feeling like I better just stick to what I was going to do, because by the
Do
time
all
I
of
finish,
them.
I won't do anything. I won't do anything I plan to do. So, you know, try to, what I originally selected are around the broad themes of this event, and focused on racism and injustice, race equality and justice. So the two sides of that. Um, Really, I've written poetry for a long time, and I document effectively the struggles that we're going through and are happening in the world, to our communities and the diaspora, globally, not just in the UK, through poetry and through my arts, through all the different creative things I do. So all the poems that I'm going to share with you tonight are in my book, Striving for Equality, Freedom and Justice, which is a book of my poetry which fuses the poetical with the political, and documents our history from the Haitian Revolution right up to the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's a book that I also illustrated and includes my quotes. So yeah, this is where all the poems are from. And I'm going to start, one of the key things that I've been campaigning on, not just in recent years, but actually since around 2011, was to warn of what became known as the Windrush scandal. And so this first poem is really a tribute to Caribbean communities that came to the UK in the 50s and 60s, which includes my own family, and their contributions to British society. And it's called Redefining History. And my phone's going. It's typical, isn't it, that somebody tries to call you and it says it's an incoming group video call. I've absolutely no idea what it is. I hadn't scheduled any video, but it's like buzzing in my ears. I'm moving my phone away. It's quite distracting. So, redefining history. Our parents, our grandparents came to this country and in half a century redefined Britain's history. Arriving by ship enthusiastically, we were greeted by the mist and the grey of the sea. The bitter cold of the winter season was nothing compared to the ice-cold freezing attitude of those in this country, full of hatred and hostility. Greeted by signs of keep Britain white, we'd come unprepared for a fight. No dogs, no Irish, no blacks. We had to always watch our backs. We were told this was the mother country. What mother uses terms that are derogatory? What kind of mother rejects and sets out to inject a sense of worthlessness within the child she should caress? For 50 years we've struggled and fought, sometimes defiant, sometimes distraught, to make a place and be accepted as young, old and gifted. And look what we've achieved despite having to live aggrieved. We've excelled within this land that refused a helping hand, in spreading the word of the Holy Scriptures, in trade unions and in literature, in sports and politics, in broadcasting and music, in entertainment and education. We helped empower this nation. Despite the fact we were deceived, we came and we achieved. We, our parents, our grandparents came to this country and in half a century redefined Britain's history. Redefined Britain's history. Thank you. So the next poem I'm going to do, and this is where I'm having this dilemma. Shall I change one of the poems to something else?
Oh, you can do it. You can do your poem.
Add one in, you're saying? I was going to do 4. Does that mean 5? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to read from the book, the next one, and it's called Strange Kind of Justice. And it's in memory of Stephen Lawrence. And for many years as a trade unionist, one of my trade unions was involved in campaigning and supporting the family and the wider trade union movement I'm a part of, have supported the campaign for justice. So, strange kind of justice. Strange kind of justice that takes a life of 18 years and takes 18 years more to serve, where only some of the guilty get the punishment they deserve. Strange kind of justice that can allow killers to grow freely into adulthood, yet deprive that of the bright, beautiful young man they brutally took. Strange kind of justice that allows racism to thrive even though it's against the law, that supports a judicial system that's rotten to the core. Strange kind of justice that regards some lives as cheaper and more inferior than others and allows the innocent to live in anguish and suffer. Strange kind of justice that allows the injustice of murder and prejudice to thrive and keeps the ignorance of discrimination alive. Strange kind of justice that leaves mothers, fathers, families, communities in pain, that dares to take the names of equity and liberty in vain. Strange kind of justice that looks on with disinterest whilst families fight for a lifetime, whilst the guilty, unremorseful and defiant are given a lifeline. Strange kind of justice that offers a distorted, biased imbalance of scales, tilted to keep murderers and racists away from the jails. Strange kind of justice that sees the police force cast aside facts and evidence, disregarding human rights along with reason and sense. Strange kind of justice that requires wealth and power in order to be accessed, that shuts its doors on the least empowered and the poorest. Strange kind of justice that would see a mother set aside her right to grieve, forced to challenge all those that had failed her and dared to deceive. Strange kind of justice that would take credit for a family's perseverance and tenacity and dare to celebrate when it eventually and only partially delivered 18 sad and painful years too late. Thank you. The next poem is called Hijabs and Hoodies, and it's a poem that I wrote in 2012 in remembrance of and in response to the racist murders of Shema Alawadi and Trayvon Martin in the USA. And Barrack UK hosted an event for Trayvon Martin's family in the UK to support them in their campaign for justice. Hijabs and hoodies. Hijabs and hoodies, deemed baddies, not goodies, blamed for society's ills, justifying reason to kill, looking for a scapegoat, taking us by the throat or with the shot of a gun, no need after to hide or run because the law doesn't protect the victim, it defends them, the murderers and racists endorsing their hatred. Blame the hood, the cap, the locks, the hijab, the braids, the head wrap, the kufi, the turban, the scarf, the cornrows, the way your hair grows, but really it's about the race, the religion, the face of the person wearing, not what they're wearing. Call it ignorance or fearing, but it's the hatred of being racist, Islamophobic, xenophobic, thinking that justifies the theft of lives. Imagine if having your face meant your child wasn't safe when they walked on the streets, fearful of whom they might meet. If buying a packet of candy from the store placed danger at their door. Imagine having to warn your child daily of the dangers that might be. Look out, son, for the EDL, the BNP, the police, the KKK as you go on your way. Oh, and generally crazed racists armed with weapons to cause you harm. Bag of Skittles, can of iced tea doesn't sound menacing to me. Beautiful face crowned by a warm hoodie. Could have been Obama's son, your son, my son, but he was the son of his pops and mum, now shocked, distraught, rejected, miserably failed and rejected, but allows the perpetrator to claim self-defense whilst the law accepts this pretense and records the death of another beautiful, bright young man as a statistical faux pas, dusted and done. Their lives were precious, unique, special, not another's to rule. Every young person with dreams and aspirations is someone else's inspiration. But to the authorities who treat them with disdain, they say they only had themselves to blame. It was the way they looked, spoke, dressed that justified stabbing, shooting them in the head, the chest, negative, racist, ignorant stereotyping, which led to them lying there fighting for one last breath of life-filled air, while snapshots of their time here flash before them, signaling the end. For now they must transcend, seeking peace in a better place, whilst knowing it was just because of their race that their life was stolen, and in that final moment, praying that history will not repeat and the good people will defeat the evil of prejudice and racism, stamp on the hatred of discrimination, drive through justice to replace the injustice. So now, that's what we must do. Because if we don't, it could be me or you. Next day, next month, next year. And the horror of that is too much to bear. It's time to rise, stand, mobilize, and whilst we dry our eyes of tears wept for lives taken, whilst we feed our bodies shaking, whilst our anger is raw and feelings bitter, we must remember we're better than those responsible for these crimes against humanity, not allow our standards to be lowered by their profanity, channel our anger into action and unity, rise together with dignity, but determined resolve against the system that allowed our loved ones to be labelled victims, until we see justice is fully, not partially served, and those responsible receive what they deserve. Thanks. So I had one more poem, but if I do the other one, is that going to take us over time?
Yeah. No.
Do both of them? Okay. Let me just find where this one is. So this is the poem that, because of the conversation that went before, I felt like I would like to share it, the issues around identity. And I wrote this to a Tory MP, Prime Minister, who doesn't deserve a poem. I have to clarify that. It didn't deserve a poem, but because of what he was saying, it was a response to what he was saying. And he was saying that multiculturalism is dead and multiculturalism has failed. But actually, going back to the conversation we've just been having, we are multicultural. We have multiple identities. But actually, let me just do the poem, otherwise I'll talk through what I'm going to say in the poem. So it's just simply entitled Multiculturalism. I embrace my multiculturalism as I do my Afrocentrism, as I do my feminism, and even my Englishism. I have African and European roots, but I'm a Londoner. I'm both Caribbean and an East Ender. My Sunday dinners include both roast potatoes and rice and peas. I can slip between BBC English, Cockney, and patois with ease. I relax with jazz, dance to hip-hop, chill with lovers, but I love bebop. You can't define me with a single entity. That's because I have a multiple identity. I'm not just multicultural, I'm also multiracial. I'm proud of my history and my roots. I dress, speak, and communicate as it suits. You can't define me with just one word. To limit my multiculture would be absurd. The complexities of my multiple identities manifest in my eccentricities. They're wrapped up in my DNA, my blood, invasion, freedom, in empire, enslavement, in race, belief, religion, in class and gender, language and dialect, skills and talent, knowledge and intellect. Add to this the food I eat, the music I adore, the traditions I embrace, and the passions I live for. If I am multicultural, as I alone stand, I'm afraid, Mr. Prime Minister, I don't understand how you expect a whole population collectively to be single-cultured and have just one identity, and how you can believe multiculturalism's dead when I am a living legacy of its success. It's deep-rooted, sometimes understated, always there, but never overrated. It's in the way we sing and the way we talk, the way we dance and the way we walk. Multiculturalism cannot fail to succeed. It's not in the gift of a politician to proceed with its termination. It's not your creation. It's in our blood and in our bones. You can't create multicultural free zones. It's on our airwaves and in our streets, in our attire and rhythm and beats. It's in street food and haute cuisine. It's even in Her Majesty the Queen. It's in the theatre and in literature, in places of worship and holy scripture. It's celebration, it's jubilation, it's pomp and glory, and it's our story. You can't erase what makes us who we are. It's not something you can permit or bar, and you can't take away what brings us together. Recognize, Mr. Prime Minister, multiculturalism's here forever. So, final poem. This poem is really my signature poem. It's a poem that I wrote about what I do as human rights campaigner, trade unionist, and a community activist. And it's called Progression. They're blocking me from progression, trying to cause my regression. They can't abide that I preside, adept and articulate, thinking, how ridiculous. She's a woman, sole parent and black. We can't let her progress, not someone like that. I don't fit into their Oxbridge ideal. I come from the streets, I'm real. I grew up in South London, Peckham, raised by my Caribbean mum. I rate myself second to none, not afraid to speak my mind about discrimination I find. I know my rights and represent all those people that they resent. They call me an ethnic minority, but not with my consent. I define myself as a majority, and that term they use I resent. Only have to look at the world to see we make up the majority. That term is just mental slavery designed to undermine the likes of you and me. So they're blocking me from progression, call it a permanent recession. Don't want to see someone of my gender and race honor their executive boards with my grace. But when I tell them how I feel, give it to them straight, remember I'm real. They tell me they find me aggressive, confrontational and excessive. But you know, if I was white and male, educated at Oxford, Cambridge or even Yale, they tell me they find me assertive, sensational and progressive. But I'm an ethnic majority. My ancestors fought slavery. And like a suffragette, it's not over yet, because I'll rise above them one day soon, despite their secret chants of the N-word and coon. You see, I'm fired with a flame that will burn out all their shame. I may not rise to fame, but I can play them at their own game. And though they won't give me a level playing field to disseminate all I yield, just remember I've combated racism, sexism, fascism and oppression simultaneously, not in succession, and I'm still standing, still achieving, and there's no way I'm leaving. They may block me from progression, but see this face? They may shut doors in it, they may look down at it, they may disregard it, but still I shine in the face of adversity. And I didn't need to go to university to figure out what they're about. I may be a woman and I may be black, but know something, I'm proud of that. Life isn't a concession, and I've got a confession. I overcame multiple oppression, so I sure as hell don't need permission to achieve promotion or progression. And that's the end of this lesson. Thank you.
Wow, I'm clicking. Can you click, please? Or clap? I don't know. That was incredible.
Thank you.
Extremely unapologetic. Do you have any questions, guys? Because that was insane. Who inspires you, and also your rhythm? You just don't let society box you in, which is so inspiring. How do you get to that space? Like, how did you get in this mind frame?
It takes years. It takes a while. I think one of the things I had to do in my life is to learn to love myself. It goes back to some of the conversation we were having earlier. at the point that you can love yourself and have the confidence in who you are, then you can let go of any fears about expressing who you are and owning who you are. And you know, we should all be able to live in a society where we can take up space and be our authentic selves and express ourselves in the way we want to. But of course, the reality of life is that it's not like that, you know, because people try to attack us and threaten us and intimidate us. But it does take time, it takes confidence. I think that being a trade union and a community activist and being in circles and networks and having that support and being part of a bigger thing with other people and working collectively, that helps to gain that confidence. And I think because I fight for justice and fight for equality for other people, the way I feel is that I can't be accepting those things happening to me without challenging it. And actually that's where it came from. You know, I grew up with really strong values instilled in me in terms of standing up for your rights and speaking out about injustice. My parents were part of the anti-apartheid movement, the boycott campaign, and actually that taught me a lot. And the anti-apartheid movement actually inspired quite a lot of black people, both in the USA and the UK, to start fighting for their rights for justice, you know, where they were living, their homes, because of what was happening in South Africa and what they were facing. So I think life experiences, I don't know where the sense of justice came from. I could only say it came from my mum instilling in me that you must fight for your rights all the time and stand up to anything that hits you. That's where it started from, and then I just always had this strong passion for justice and equality, and hence why I've done it. Feeds into the art that I create, in all the genres that I'm involved in, and it feeds into what I do in terms of a campaigner and activist.
Yeah, I'm very speechless because it's made me feel it. I don't know. I see everything a little bit differently now, especially when it comes to multiculturalism. I believe that we live in a multicultural society. Whether it satisfies our needs, I don't know. Especially whenever I do apply for a job and I see black or like ethnicity, I see the box. I always have to tick I'm from this box, but I don't want to be boxed in mentally or physically. I work in an environment that is predominantly white, so I feel that sometimes I have to change the way that I speak or my behavior. But yeah, I definitely saw things in a different light. So thank you for that. That was beautiful. Does anyone else have any comments? Anything I'd like to add?
Yeah. I think. Who's going?
Go.
I think that, okay, I'm going to look at your stuff a little more critical. And I'm looking at the lineup that we have here tonight. And yourself and myself, we are maybe at the upper range of that. And all the powerful work we heard before, it was powerful and emotional. But your whole tone, you brought a level of experience to it. All right, you brought the years of all this, what you've been fighting for that people are seeing now. So I think that a lot of people in the beginning, they brought the emotion, but you brought the thought about it, you know, you brought what you're thinking about and what you're doing to work it, and you know, you touch on a lot of very interesting things that I like. And back to not your last poem, the one before, I think you spoke a lot about identity and you spoke about multiculturalism, and you could show that was so playful still, and it was a fun thing to listen to, and I like how you move in between English and patois a little bit, and you were brave to do it. That, I think, people are getting from what is, you know, there's a lot of bravery, like you've stood up here a long time, so you know what standing up here is like. You know, that's the main difference I see between yours and the ones that came before, which were just as great. I want to ask you a question now. you've been doing this work a long time. When you said, from the Haitian Revolution to now, so that's 1791, I think. All this time, how do you take care of yourself to give this kind of work?
Okay. That's a really good question, and it's something I talk about quite a lot in my work and practice. So thank you also for your feedback, really, really appreciated. So how I care for myself, I am really, really strong about individual and collective self-care. I think that's really, really important. When you're an activist or you're creating arts which are responding to traumatic events, it can be really stressful. So I make sure that I take time out in everything I'm doing as an individual for myself. So that means you have to actually schedule in the time into your day. Yeah. And one of the things I've been doing all through lockdown, because you can't go out. So some of the things I might have done for self-care outside, I can't do it, was to create daily art. But it was supposed to be an act of self-care for me each day on my phone, just to create some digital art. You can see it all on my Instagram if you want to see what I've created. And then I posted it on Instagram each day. But actually, it became me creating a visual diary, responding to what was happening each day. But actually, that was good self-care, because it was a way of me processing what I'd been doing as a campaigner, what was happening in the world, what was happening with the virus. And yeah, so this is just like the one you're holding up is just a simple thing that I did a few nights ago, that just sort of took half an hour or something. But that little time out means that I switch off from everything else. Subconsciously, yes, it's going into the arts, what's been happening. But it's a good way to take time out. One of the things I've been doing for 7 years is to coordinate humanitarian aid convoys and distributions to people who are displaced, who are refugees in northern France. And so this is something we do in Barrack, UK. And so there's a team of us that go out there and do that. Sometimes our family involved. My son's been quite involved in that. And whilst we basically get racially profiled taking aid to France and back. I could write an entire book just about what's happened to us. And obviously, once we get there and we're meeting with people who are displaced by climate change, persecution, poverty and conflict, who have gone through these perilous journeys, most of them are in their teens or early 20s, they've lost all their family. That's quite traumatic. We never become desensitized to it, do you know what I mean? Because we're really feeling what people have gone through. So one of the things I started to do as an act of self-care, because that day when we go and take the aid and meet people, it's quite stressful, not to mention our own personal experiences of being racially profiled and stopped and whatever, trying to just take aid and come back, is to carve out a bit of time during that day, even though it's a busy day and we might start 4 in the morning and come back after midnight, whilst we're in France, to take a walk on the beach, to go and sit down and have some lunch, to go and visit a historic site. So I will always build into, the environment you're in, you have to adapt. And at the moment we're in an environment where we're in. So, that's finding something to do inside, just to switch off, even if it's sitting in the garden, even if it's talking to your friends, it's praying, it's fitness, whatever works for, all different things work, don't they, for different people. But I do think it's really important that everybody finds the thing or the things that work for them and take some time out each day just for themselves and just to breathe and think. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Para, you had a question as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what trade union you were working for.
Okay, I'm not employed by a trade union. I'm a lay
sorry.
rep. I'm elected. So
Okay.
2 trade unions. I'm the National Vice President of the Public and Commercial Services Union, and I'm the Joint National Chair of the Artists Union England.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, it was just cool. It was just a good thing. My dad was a trade union representative years ago. He used to work for Unison. I was just inquisitive to yeah, your line of work.
Yeah, lifelong trade unionist. So I've been in other unions before that. So yeah, I do a lot of things within those two unions. So I do a lot of work on equality issues, negotiating with employers, representing people in cases. I also chair our international committee in PCS, so that's working with solidarity and justice campaigns and human rights issues around the world. I chair our equality coordinating committee, which is bringing all the strands of equality together, and I chair our women's committee, very much involved in our Black Members Committee. So there's lots of different things within the trade union roles that I do. And in Artists Union England, we're one of the youngest unions in the UK. So we don't have premises, we don't have employees. So it's just the team of elected representatives that run the union. And we don't have a general secretary. So myself and the other joint chair of the union fulfill the role of the general secretary as well between us. So it's really busy between everything else going on.
Cool.
Okay, yeah, you sound like you're very busy, but interesting life story. Thank you for that performance.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Example.
Oh, you were fading out then, but I think you were asking about social media.
Social media, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm at Zita Barrack UK, which is ZITABARC UK. On Twitter, at Barrack UK. On Facebook, I have a page which is Zita Holborn Poet Artist. And then we also have a Barrack page and a Barrack group on Facebook. And then YouTube, it's Zita Holborn Poet Activist. And then I have a SoundCloud, which is just Zita Holborn. I think that's most of them that I've covered there.
Okay, thank you very much. You'll definitely see a message from me to get involved. But yeah, I really appreciate you being here as a special guest. Everyone, round of applause, please. You can.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, our next performer, Ade G. Ade, you good? You okay? Great. Ade G is a poet, playwright, and a prophet, a pilgrim from the future, living in the present with solutions from the past. This is Ade.
Shango, Mojubele, Shango, Ifalo, Eri Jaja, Orisha Kore Mole, Baba O Mojuba Erile, Ua Kuso. First comes libation. First comes libation. Rice, corn, honey, and molasses, a gift given. A call to Baba Shango, inherit my beloved's womb. Born of the will of Oshuna child, with a smile as valuable as Corey shells. Used to, with eyes that soar beyond the limits of the sky. Hands so eager to lift the burden of another. I remember my child. Alive, breathing, and living. What else has value to a parent whose child's blood waxed cold on their palms, whose son bathed One with the morgue at 15. I don't want justice or kumbaya or amazing grace. I want the spear of Odin to thrust into your spirit. So, to the man that made my child home of morgue, I pray that on the day you wake up to seek forgiveness for your sins, you wake up with lips sewn shut to your hunger. Then feast on your tongue. A worthy punishment for such a snake who sought to hiss words to seek forgiveness. You will not know death, and your soul will be doomed to roam this earth until the soles of your feet decay, for dictating the time the soul of my child left this earth. So let it be. That your intestines form serpents, so let it be. That in your waking moment, his smile is plastered against your eyelids. And in your sleeping moments, you may not even be comfortable with your own silhouette. But feel free to pray. Feel free to pray to your God. But even a God knows not to trample with a mother's cord. You will not know death. And nothing would make void the seal I broke upon you and the remainder of your kin. Nothing will stop this, my call for revenge. Thank you. Yeah. Kind of have to change mics halfway through. All right. Next poem I have here is a bit of a story. The reason I describe myself as poet, playwright, prophet, because there are stories we have in the past that tell us how to live today, and these stories have been going on for a very long time. And sometimes these things reflect from one generation to the next. So this is a bit of a story turned into poem form that I had done, and it kind of talks about that relationship where you can't hide things from children, that they inherently learn things from seeing and experiencing. God don't give you more than you could bear, Granny says. Because for hundreds of years we're bearing what he sent. Like the earth bear the hot sun and the rains and the dew and the cold. And the earth is still the earth. Still here for man to build house on and fall down on. Still sending up shoots and flowers and growing things. It is because we could bear it. Out of all the shoulders of the world, our shoulders could bear more weight. Out of all the flesh in the world, our flesh could bear more pain. And out of all the hearts in the world, our hearts could stomach more ache without breaking or burning or bursting than any shoulder or flesh or heart. So God did make this world by guess. Things have meaning. And this sea and this earth that will bury us all, and the wind and the sun, and not one of those pretty little stars in the sky didn't come here by whistling. God has a reason for everything. He has eyes. And all man has here is a few fleeting moments that God gave him and a little sense to know who he is and why. So he can make a little sense of this little time he has here. Praise God and die. The strong suffer most. The weak die. Thank you. Great. So, my last one. It is in preparation for, well, what I realized is that there's a monument going to be put up in a few weeks for the commemoration of the first Black person who was buried in Liverpool. All right, and I'm working on a bit of a thing with Buka Baraba on something for this. Now, I guess you just have to listen to it. You judge it how it is, but let's see. This poem shall speak of the wretched sea that washed ships on these shores, of mothers crying for their young swallowed up by the sea. This poem shall say nothing new. This poem shall speak of time, time unlimited, time undefined. This poem shall call names like Lukumba, Kenyatta, Mukaraba, Hannibal, Akaton, Malcolm, Garvey, Haile Selassie. This poem is vexed about racism and fascism, the Ku Klux Klan riots, Brixton, Liverpool, Atlanta, Jim Jones. This poem is revolution against first world, second world, third world division, man-made decision. This poem is like all the rest. This poem will be amongst words. This poem will not be amongst great literary works. This poem will not be recited by poetry enthusiasts, will not be quoted by politicians or men of religion. This poem is knives and bombs and guns and blood and fire blazing for freedom. This poem is a drum, Ashanti, Mau Mau, Igbo, Yoruba, Nyabingi warriors, Uru Uru, Uru Namibia, Uru Soweto, Uru Africa. This poem will not change things. This poem needs to be changed. This poem is a rebirth of people, a rising, awakening, understanding. This poem is speaking and has spoken. This poem shall continue even when the poets have stopped writing. This poem shall survive you, me, and shall linger in history. This poem will linger in your mind in time forever. This poem is time. Only time will tell. This poem is still not written. This poem has no poem. This poem is just a part of a story. His story, our story. The story is still untold. This poem is now ringing, talking, irritating, making you want to stop it. But this poem will not stop. This poem is long, cannot be short. This poem cannot be tamed, cannot be blamed. The story is still not told about this poem. This poem is old, new. This poem is copied from the Bible, from your prayer book, from your Playboy magazines, New York Times, Reader's Digest, The Guardian, The Files. This poem is no secret. This poem is called boring, stupid, senseless. This poem is watching you, trying to make sense from this poem. This poem is messing up your brains, making you want to stop listening to this poem. But you shall not stop listening to this poem. You need to know what will be said in this poem. This poem will disappoint you because this poem is to be continued in your mind. Thank you. That's it for me tonight.
Well done. Wow. Very performative. Stood up.
Yeah. I write for performance, so I do a lot of theater work. So everything I do has to be that. If it's not that, I'm not being true to me.
Has to be performative. But you mentioned earlier how Sita was able to deliver the experience. Are you trying to perform in a similar way where you can provide us with the experience and also your voice? Is that the direction you're going into?
Everything, for me, everything has to be part of telling the story. I tell the story with my whole body if I feel it. And I try to do that, you know. Sometimes I hide within the poem, but sometimes you just want to express everything, and all these things in your mind has to come and be a part of that story. So I try to bring all of me into it, all of the things that I think about or, you know, can bring to it, I do.
Okay. Okay. So is there any person in your life that inspires you, or is it just your own personal experiences that you all see from people?
It's so hard to find what inspires you because um I see all your poets here. You're inspired by everything.
Mm.
You're inspired by everything, good, bad, everything you see, everything you hear. I always think for me that information is like a compost heap. It's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you get from everywhere around, people talking to you, you hear a conversation, you watch a movie, you read something, everything is garbage. But that garbage is like the most fertile ground for
Mm-hmm.
something to come out, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I kind of treat inspiration. I devour things and I listen to things that people would be afraid to listen to, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so it's a bit like,
hope that answers the question.
It does. It's a bit like the soil, and then there's a seed, and then suddenly a flower blooms. And when the flower blooms, that's more of your way of expressing yourself. No, I get that.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a flower. It could be, you know, a weed, but it's how you express it. You know, it's part of the story. You can't always expect flowers. You have to expect some weeds, and you know, you have to know how to deal with them and how to bring hard topics across to people sometimes.
Okay. You mentioned you kept mentioning the poem, this poem, and this poem was more of the subject. And I liked how you explained a bit more the different ways this poem can be explained. Can you expand on why you took that type of strategy when writing the poem?
Okay, as I said, you have to. I don't want to get too artsy for anybody. All right.
Oh, get artsy. It's okay.
So my belief, honestly, is that the first set of art that we had, be it music or poetry, was some worship to something, to some god, to the sun, to the water, to something, you know, and all work is like that. I think that the best work is something that is pushing to reach God or follows that kind of structure. So I always tell writers, look for direction in spiritual work, be it whatever religion, but look for it there because it's so poetic. And how they ring the words, you get into it. It's a reason things are called prayer, and it's a reason that everybody does it, you know, and people do it together, and people feel that way. So I am sure that if I was doing this poem live, you would have known when to say this poem. And I would have pointed to you and say this poem, and I would have gone on. But that also happens in church, you know. There's a certain cadence you say, amen, da 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 da, amen, da 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 da, amen, da da. And that's and sometimes you need to build that to, you know, draw the attention. All that is broken down to it's a mantra, you know, prayers are mantras. It's things that take you out of physical and try to be spiritual, right? So that's how I treat my approach to it. Yeah.
Okay. Definitely a very different poem. I wish I could be a poet like you guys, but I'm not. Does anyone have any questions or anything that inspired them when Adi was talking, like the way his body language was, or the things that he was saying, his rhythm? Any other comments?
Yeah, I really like the flow and the rhythm and the energy because it feels like we've been taken on a journey with you. And this poem one, I was like, no, it's not finished yet. I need to hear more. Yeah, I love that. I love what you did with that. But yeah, I like all the performance because I come from, you know, a background of performance poetry. So I love to see that. So I like the written, you know, written poetry. I like poetry however it comes, but I really like the performance because I think it energized me, yeah, and took me on a journey. I kind of forgot that I was on a Zoom call, you know, I could just be sitting back in an audience and, yeah, not a participant. I love that, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you used a bit of patois, and you sang a bit, and you said some like Yoruba, Igbo. Like, is there any particular reason why you did that during that poem?
It's a piece that, again, I talk about spirituality things. It's a piece that's supposed to be a kiss, right? And I'm trying to put myself into the shoes of someone who's lost a child. You know, what happens when you lose a child? You know, blood on your hands. That's a other level. And I always wanted to come from a place of madness, you know, and I had a little tribal chant to start off because for me, it breaks the conversation instantly. This is not English. You don't know what I'm saying. You know, you pay attention. I could be cursing everyone here through Zoom, through Facebook. Maybe, you know, you might be able to sleep for a week. I don't know. But you instantly want to know what's happening, and you instantly get this sense of, oh, I don't know, you know? And I think that all a parent wants to do is, they don't want sorry, they don't want this is another statistic, they don't want these things. What they want to do is, what they want is retribution, you know? And, you know, I wanted to get into that mindset. I wanted to get into that way, and you had to drag all the pain and all the hurt with you, and that pain has gone back centuries, and that pain would come with an African voice, and that's how I feel that Africans would express that pain. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely felt that when you started singing. I was like, wow, this is I just assumed that you were a poet, but the fact that you incorporated the two, it gave me a different like a feel of what you were trying to say. So thank you for that. Do we have any other questions? Any comments? Stephanie, do you have anything to say? How did you feel about the poem?
I just thought it was amazing.
Thank you.
And like, where'd you get, sorry, go on.
Honestly, really good. I was gonna say, like, I was really with Zita, like the flow was amazing. I like the fact that you were able to mix up your languages and the flow to create a deeper meaning for your audience, because I was just zoning in. Like, even when you guys were having that conversation, I was still taking it in. So it's really nice to like reflect on people's poetry as well. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard because I try to fight. It's easy being somewhere. All right, first, it's like no secret that I'm not from here. I wasn't born here. It's not, you know, I don't have a Scouse accent. All right. But what happens is that for a while, like I never liked my voice. I never liked the cadence that I speak. I always felt it was beneath me how I spoke. So my whole experience with poetry is also trying to find the voice that I was not, that I let go a long time ago, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You describe yourself as a pilgrim from the future. What do you mean in that sense? Like, I kind of get, I understand. I think I understand what you mean, but I want you to express yourself a bit more because I've never seen that.
I'm not from here. I have all the answers to everything. I'm not from here, and there are things that I think society needs to know and needs to learn, and I'm showing people how to fix it. I think through my work. You know, that's my work, a conversation with telling people how to fix the future, how to fix now, because I saw what happened in the future and because I understand what happened in the past, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
It might be weird, but, you know, because of this time we're in, a lot of people are going back. All right. I've always said, when you have a phone, no matter how expensive it is, no matter how cheap it is, if anything is wrong with it, the sure way to fix it is go to default, factory reset the phone, you know? And what this time gave people an opportunity to do was to reset themselves, you know? When all these things aren't working, you know, how do we reset ourselves? So that's kind of the, I'm from the future. I have these stories. I have the answer. I can't tell you what it is. I can help you unlock it, but this is where it comes from.
Okay. No, I understand now. Wow.
I hope you understand.
I do, yeah. Like
many a slip between my tongue and lips, so I'm glad that you got it.
No, I think that your analogy with the reset button on the phone, we all have, especially for me now, during this lockdown period, I've had time to really think and reflect on myself. And I've even thought of going back to Rwanda or back to Africa, because it's happening a lot. Like lots of Black Britons are going back because we are finding it hard to look for opportunities in the UK. And like when you start singing and you on all of these words that you were saying, it started like with you took me back to Africa. I was born in the UK, but I love being African. There's always languages being thrown around in my house, and I miss being in that country. And the way that the performance itself, I think you delivered really well. So thank you for that, Ade. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers. I think just a little bit of what you said, what I believe is that Africans know their tongue. So even if I say something and you don't understand it, we know what is said. We might not be able to put it to words, but some part of us, it resonates with some part of us, you know to pay attention to this because this is something important. And again, going back to what you said, I'm sure that I can speak for myself. I got COVID, right? And I was down in bed. And and I had to reset me. I went back to my mother and my grandmother and all of their remedies to get better. And I think that helped me, you know? So when I say reset, I also mean go back to
ancestors.
What they did in the last plague, what they did the last time, because I think we rely too much. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I think we rely too much on what's happening around us and the medicine around us and what we consider to be science around us. And I'm not knocking it one way or the other. What I'm saying is that the continent of Africa, although they call it the dark continent, the continent of Africa has dealt with plagues before. They have dealt with, atrocities. They have dealt with, famine and all these things before. What was the solution for these plagues? Can we look at these things? Can we think about what if, because at the time when someone might have been there, they say, oh, this is magic. I don't know, maybe. But I always say that science is magic you could prove over and over, And when I mean set back before, I went back and I listened to how my mom said we have to sit or how you should sleep, and what you should sleep with. And these things, I believe, will, I'm not saying it's a cure, but I'm saying that it works on the DNA of us as Africans. I think that we have something in our music, in our dance, in our songs that has a power to affect us on a molecular level, right? That nothing else can do. We feel certain vibrations at different times. And I think that's because we're African, It's something to think about.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. There's something called juju. Do you know juju in Africa? Which is like, you have bad juju and you have good juju. And my mum, she doesn't focus on the good juju, but she said she has friends who practice the good juju. Like for you to have a child, for you to get married. It's more of like good energy put into the world as like some metaphysical way of thinking. But I can definitely resonate with what you're saying when it comes to like you're speaking about remedies and you trying to heal yourself when you had COVID. You had to go back into what your parents had taught you or your mother taught you to heal yourself. And that could be said for whether you're ill or whether you're dealing with something like mentally, whether that's like anxiety or depression.
Of course. You
but
mentioned Rwanda, and I'm not
Rwanda, yeah.
because I like to talk about it. Because right after all the genocide and atrocities, they were, you know, the United Nations, the world said, let's send in psychologists, let's help these people get over this, you know.
No, they haven't.
well, from the stories that I know,
yeah,
none of it worked. All right.
So,
and what they said when they returned to their indigenous ways of treating with mental health, right? That helped more than what psychologists and psychiatrists were trying to do.
I think I have family members who are still recovering from genocide. It was like my uncles were military men, so they fought in the war, and they are still dealing with trauma, but as people, they don't address the political issue behind the genocide. They're very reserved and they're very prideful. So there's a lot of anger or tension with my parents' generation, unfortunately. So I think even if they were to bring in psychologists, I don't think they would do much, or they wouldn't fix the issue, because it's more of a communal thing that people together have to sit and discuss rather than individually seeking help. But in terms of the younger generation, there's no tension between the Hutu or Tutsis now. With my cousins or their friends, they don't really talk, or they talk about it, but they don't really have there's no anger or there's no feud between who's better or who's worse. It's more of, I see you as who you are, you as a person. But there's still definitely work that needs to be done. And I was thinking about starting a Rwandan diaspora with my cousin, because I have my uncle is in the UK and my mom, and they have crazy experiences of them traveling to the UK and what was going on in Rwanda at the time. And so, yeah, I really think I should do that. But anyway, let me not go off on a tangent. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Does anyone, thank you very much, Ade. Round of applause, please. Does anyone have any comments? Oh, also, there was a comment for Naomi. It said, I really love your poem. How do you feel about that? How do you feel that age has affected your writing? This is on Facebook.
Age? Well, poems that I wrote when I was a teenager, I mean, they were still highly emotional, but I think as I've gotten older and I've grown, they've gotten better, for one. And I don't know, I think they just touch more on more personal things. Like maybe when I was a teenager, I might have written more about love, and like I was a hopeless romantic. I still am, but as a teen, you know, your hormones are going crazy, so that's all you're thinking about. Is like, oh, I want to be in love as a girl. So yeah, now I tend to write a little bit more about other things outside of myself as well. So I think it's evolved, definitely.
I think we all could relate to writing love songs at like 16. We have no clue about love. Do you think, so your writing has matured as you've become older? And like, I don't mean to pinpoint you, but what specific events have happened? So from me talking about love to talking about mental health, for example, like what happened in between, do you think?
Well, moving to the UK, or moving back to the UK, it's not been the easiest time for me since I've been here. And it's really strange saying that, because obviously I was born here, but I was such a young child when I left. But my experience in America, believe it or not, was in my perspective, it was better than my experience here, even though I was living as an illegal immigrant in America. I still found that I had more opportunities and just it felt like a easier going life. And here, since I've been here the last 4 years, it's just there's been a lot of struggle and a lot of ups and downs, and it has affected mental health. So I have written a lot more about those things because that's what I've been dealing with. So yeah, just pretty much speaking from experience.
Okay, thank you, Naomi. Does anyone else have any other comments or any themes that have stuck out to them during our poetry night they want to talk about? No? Okay, so next person we're going to see is Stephanie Robson. Give everyone a wave, please. There she is. She's been sitting so kindly and waiting. Let me introduce Stephanie. So Stephanie is a LIPA graduate, an actor, freestyle poet, and spoken word artist. She is a drama practitioner, teaching in London, and freelances as a multidisciplinary artist, leading workshops on theatre, slam poetry, and spoken word. This is Stephanie Robson.
Hey everyone. I'm gonna give you a couple written poems first, and then I'm going into some slam poetry. And the series of poems that I'm gonna do is basically taking you through my writer's journey. So similar to some of the other poets, when I was younger, I was more on the lovey-dovey poems and like be my Prince Charming kind of vibe. And then as I've gone on, my thinking process has changed, my experiences have changed, and that's kind of tied into my work. So the first one I'm going to do for you is called Rain Cloud, and it's about a tattoo. How long do I settle for my emotions being vulnerable puppet strings in the hands of fate with no structured seasons? I become oblivious to time. Greed and desire only practical in giving me the drive to encourage my strong yearnings for your affectionate touch. Make me feel beautiful, I ask in my mind. A mile-long thin track through tree-filled land. Natural surroundings spark my nostalgia, chasing me back to the memories I shared with another man. Back to the glares and moments that we shared that created this monument. Please may you explain to me why the spark I feel between me and you becomes clearer with every crystal roll I share to myself. My heart far and beyond my bare sleeve in contrast to your black and white rain cloud sleeve. The value behind your art sinks you into psychological depth. The depth of your ink entices me into unveiling your story. I find myself assessing your masculinity that's presented in your outer appearance. I want to know you better. You're unique. A heroic stand and smile catch my eye. Only after you caught me in the deep act of eyeballing your tattoo sleeves with a mischievous chirp. Edging closer to their meanings, I tried to discover what emotions you had fought in your past that made you balance out the colors you portray in your black and white rain cloud sleeves. All it took was my eyes to lock in your glance, and I felt absorbed in the abundance of your bittersweet rain cloud of compassion. So that was my first piece. The next piece I'm going to share with you all is a poem called Control. And this was kind of my first love note to myself. So it was the first time I was like, I'm writing a poem. It's not for anyone. It's for me. I'm grounded. I'm a strong, independent woman. I got this. Yeah. That was the energy that I was coming with. Losing myself to find you. Selfishness, we turn a blind eye. Struggling to see the view over the bridge, eyes wide open, yet flaws remain imperishable. The moment one eye is closed, the picture is repainted, reconciled, reconciled, losing myself to find you. Are you the backseat driver of your pride, your ego a painkiller? However it may ease the pain on what others have not seen, we keep our masks to shelter our dreams. Recognized accomplishments, crave for another pill to numb the exhaust of drowned pity, drowned self-pity, waiting for people to give you praise on your accomplishments. Losing myself, no longer the outcast entrapped. Kindness given with no questions asked. A challenging mistake, I take 2 steps ahead of my last mistakes, never taking a loss, always a lesson. I have found myself. I now stand in distant memories as a dream. I had to lose myself to find you in order to be saved. This is my new chapter. I can take control. Why do I stand with my shoulders held high, my smile filled with such passion? I reply with a trickled laugh, disguised amusement. I stand so tall because I can. I embody my character because I am the original. No one will ever spoil you as you spoil yourself, so I buy myself weekly flowers. No one's sass can engage you more than your own. No one's character more enchanting than your own aura. I am me. Lovely. And thank you. And the next piece I'm going to do is something I wrote really recently, and it was inspired by Black Lives Matter and how I was feeling during lockdown, as crazy as it sounds. So during lockdown, obviously we know that we couldn't access hairdressers, and as someone that likes to switch up my hair a lot, that was a problem because there's so many styles I can do by myself. So this poem is called Black Hair. Racism has always been a pandemic, tainting our perceptions of beauty's natural image. I straighten, weave, and wig. I color block my baby hair to taint your vision of my damaged edges, making them look slick back to the heavens to cover up years of damage that soothed my ego's intentions for exception. I am forever seeking new products to elevate my curls. Scared of the backlash of humidity and shrinkage, I am empowered by the coils and kinks that are my hair's elasticity. We shall support Black-owned. Miss Jessie's, Aunt Jackie's, Sultanicals, self-made Madam C.J. Walker, Black absorbing the light. Wearing our natural hair is a practice of acceptance, a celebration, self-love. Let's make a change. I am more than my hair. Black hair producing its own vitamins and oils. My afro is currency. My braids a signed treaty. Big chop, new reality. My headscarf, solidarity. Regrowth, we repeat. Don't touch my hair. Afrocentric and proud, influenced by the motherland, my Bantu knots refer you to my Southern African heritage. My yarn-wrapped hair defies gravity. I alert you to my presence as you smell my shea butter melt into the room as I walk. We are a physical representation of community. Our hair is interchangeable, political, and powerful. Interchangeable, political, and powerful. Black hair. Racism has always been a Black pandemic. And that's it. Thank you. I'm going to give you guys one quick freestyle before we go into the freestyle session. Just because it's been in my mind and I'm like, I have to speak on it. So this is just going to be me going off the dome. I'm not even giving myself a topic because it's just going to be free flow. I've recognized that with COVID-19, all of a sudden there's these ads going out for BAME employees, even though we weren't recognized before when they saw the surname and couldn't pronounce the T's. Trying to pronounce the clicks when they couldn't think of how to pronounce it. They thought they'd make a little switch and give you just the first 2 initials of your surname, trying to tell you that it fits the tick box because you can't fit your whole name in the description box, asking for an extra page just so that they can flip the box. I guess all of a sudden now BAMEs are appreciated. Always been appreciated, we've always known it, known that we're hard workers, but yet we still have to graft harder. Telling our young ones from early that they're gonna have to graft harder. They can be the smartest in the class, but they need to be the smartest in the year. Be the smartest in the year, they need to be the smartest in the society, and everything is always changing and progressing, but I guess I'm just trying to enlighten me.
Oh, wow. Do you know what? Let's just, I cannot. That's good. You can do that from the top of your head. You don't think, you just talk.
Yeah, so give me a word, every poet.
Okay, wait, let's talk about your poems first. You I really liked your discussion on black hair. I feel like the young black female self isn't spoken about that much. We have to hide our hair, our food, the way that we behave a lot to fit in. And you were able to talk about like you can straighten your hair, you're burning your hair, or you're tugging your hair, or you're trying to just be beautiful. But society tells you otherwise. Like, have you got a specific experience that you can talk about?
So for me, the main thing that made me decide I want to write on hair was the fact that during the pandemic, I've realized that every other hair product I'm picking up in a black beauty store has 101 chemicals. I don't understand what they do. I Google this, it tells me it's going to break my hair. Google that, it tells me it's going to grow it. And I just said, scratch that and making my own. So I've literally just started buying all my butters and oils, and I've like got my own little hair combo, and I've been helping friends out along the go as well, because I'm like, we need to know how we're treating ourselves and how we're treating our scalps and how we're treating our energy, because it's all about bringing positivity. And I think that starts from the way you care for yourself, even in terms of your basic day-to-day skin routine. And I think it's important that black women should be allowed to switch up their hair whenever they please. And I think it's also important that we should value our natural hair and have an understanding that it is beauty, and we don't need to add a couple layers here and there to make it wow, because it is wow just the way we wake up. But it's sad that I'm still learning to love my natural hair and everything it brings, and I'm still learning how it likes to be treated, because I look at my hair as another person. Like, it has feelings. If I put the wrong stuff in it, it ain't gonna happen. So I've really realized it's about getting to know yourself, getting to know what your body, your hair needs. And also mental health is a big thing, like knowing how to have a bit of release in your day, whether that be if it's through poetry or art, or so I know people that make jewelry recently. They've started making jewelry over lockdown as a way of keeping themselves busy and stimulated. But just really enjoying every day, and sometimes not trying to think too far ahead and just being in the moment, because that's when you really do get the best memories.
No, I can definitely agree. Finding an outlet to help your mental health is important. Like, I do people's hair. I'm like a fanatic. I change my hair every month. It's actually like an obsession. But that's only started happening a few months ago. I started looking at like the history of my hair, and they used to, before slavery, they would spend hours and days trying to decorate black hair. It would determine status, class, age, ethnicity. It had a lot of meaning, and that, because of the slave trade and capitalism, colonialism, we've lost our voices with our hair, and we end up trying to fit Eurocentric ideas of beauty, and it's so sad. And now that I'm 20,
there's so much hidden meaning in our hair. Like, even recently, like, I've been doing my research and I found out about Madam C.J. Walker, like the first self-made black female billionaire, and I found out about the fact that we used to use cane rows as a way of storing food. So like tucking rice under the plat, and using yarn to wrap our hair so that we didn't have to pay for electricity or access all of that, so that we could just wake up and we were ready. It's just there's so much power that we don't value to a high enough level. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of natural queens that do, and I rate it. I'm just trying to be there.
No, definitely. I'm just learning about yourself. That was, oh, has she gone? We lost Stephanie. Hello. Well, anyway, black hair, it is like a map. You're trying to figure out the porosity, the texture, but it's definitely a journey that I think something that I'm learning to love. Can anyone else relate? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was going to say, because I lived in Guyana for about 8 years of my life. And over there, it was such a rite of passage, I guess, for everyone to relax their hair as soon as they became 10, 11. And I think it's mainly due to Eurocentric ideals. And I think especially in Guyana, in terms of getting a really good job and things like that, texturism has a lot to play. And, you know, the straighter your hair, the more you're perceived a lot more put together, I guess, in the workplace. And I think now, growing up, I'm only 22, but I feel like I'm trying to almost reclaim that. So I know there's been times where I've been told, like, if you wear dreads, like, you won't get a good job, stuff like that. And I'd like go out of my way to get faux locks and go get a job just to kind of be like, you know, it shouldn't depend on my hairstyle or me not being able to pursue whatever career and do whatever I want to do. And even with my natural hair, it's been such a journey that I'm still on. And as Steph was saying, like, it's been over lockdown and this whole like period that I've actually had time to, like, I've had to sit down with my hair like it's actually another person and figure out what it likes, what it doesn't like, how to look after it properly so that it can grow, because this is the hair I was born with. I shouldn't have to hide it or under straighteners and curlers and things that are ultimately not good for my texture. Should be able to harness it and let it grow the way I was born with. So yeah, I think hair is very, especially for Black women, I think it's a very topical thing. Because, you know, but yeah.
Okay, no, I do 1000% agree. I remember trying to cut a fringe when I was like 10. And I had like a big pair of, I had afro and a big pair of scissors, and I was like, and my brother was like, Mom, try to start cutting her hair. And I was like, oh, I wanted a fringe like my friends, because you want to fit in, you just want to be accepted. And you're searching for love from others or other things or other ways of like just fitting in and being accepted, but you should find the love within yourself. And I guess growing up, you're told that your hair is like a bit nappy or it's too hard, or you know, you need to make it look more presentable, and that's how you're going to live a better life. But now with the whole like Black girl magic thing starting in 2010, it was trending, and you see like dark skinned girls in like higher places like Lupita. You're seeing more Black owned businesses that are booming, that are held by women and men. It's just very refreshing to see on my feed or on my Facebook. I didn't see that before, and yeah, I'm just enjoying this. I'm not sure where Steph has gone, but we can continue. Ade, I know you're the only guy that's here. Do you have any comments? I didn't mean to focus solely on Black women in their hair, but can you relate to these experiences?
Well, I see. I didn't want to get too much into the conversation, but yeah, I have locks, and I've been growing my locks for maybe over 15 years. So I know what it is to go to a hair salon and stay the whole day. I know that. You know, it's okay. I would get home from work maybe at 4 o'clock, and I know I'm not going to leave the salon until 10. You know, I know the wash, the dry, the product. I know all of that. So that's to say is that I think that our hair has always been political, I think, you know, and everybody goes through it at some point in time. Like, I went through the same thing with you, and you cut a bit of your hair because my neighbor growing up had this cool way that his hair just used to dip forward, and it was like Johnny Bravo or something. So I didn't know what to do. I pulled my hair back and decided to like clip the front to hopefully I get this straight kind of cool look. And that was just after I got a haircut, because that's what I wanted. And my mom was pissed, you know? Yeah, so again, the hair is a journey, but I like that people can do this research and connect it. It's part of who we are. And yeah, we learn a lot of things from our hair. I think the whole idea of hair, I think all Black people have a hair journey. And that's why we get touchy for people touching our hair, because we know a lot of work went into this. You know, I have to wait until the sun is up to shampoo my hair. And my girlfriend wants to go to the park. We have a problem because I want to wash my hair today. You understand? It's that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess, for me, I think of it two ways. I like the idea that I have this hair, and people look at it and, of course, want to touch it. And sometimes I do. Not for a bad reason, but I think that some people need to understand what it is. And you mainly get it from a lot of older people. They've never seen it before, or maybe never felt comfortable around Black people to ask the question. Maybe they're in such a good mood that their walls are down and they want to find out more about you. I don't know. Maybe it's just because they think it's exotic, maybe. But you can't take away someone's point of access, someone's point of learning. We all on the same road, and sometimes we intersect each other when we're going different ways, and we tend to judge people by these things they do. And I fully get it. When I do my hair, I don't want rain to touch it or sun to touch it. I want nothing to touch it for days. You'll have it tied up from sun up to sundown. But then somebody comes and genuinely looks at it and says, "Can I touch it?" And I broke and said, "Yeah, touch it." Yeah. It's a thing.
Yeah, I definitely I get where you're coming from. Hair plays a massive part into my experience as a Black woman, because I change it so much, and it's a form of expression for me. But growing up, people would like to touch my hair and touch my skin. When I would go traveling, people had never seen my skin before, my hair, and sometimes it's more intriguing. But if you look at history, Black people were put into zoos and museums, and people were touching them and looking at them as animals. So it can be a bit just uncomfortable when people touch your hair. But now we're moving into a society where people understand that, and they do ask you. People have asked me before, which is really good. So
I think it's changed. I think it's changed slowly, because
gradually.
My parents were in the UK in the 70s, and the questions that white people asked them was not about the hair, was how do you know when to have a shower? How do you know if you're dirty? Because our skin is brown.
Yeah.
That was the question back then, and they would try to rub our skin to see how clean it would get. So again, it could come from a malicious place, or it could come from a place of not knowing. And I think if some of us, not in all circumstances, and again, you have to be wise if you're being laughed at or laughed with, but sometimes we can share little things with people. You know what I mean?
Does anyone else have any comments? Amy?
I could definitely relate to the
Turn your microphone down a little bit.
Turn it down?
Get a bit of feedback.
Is it better if I'm further away from it?
Maybe take the microphone, speaker on your laptop. Speak.
Away from the speaker?
Oh no!
No?
Okay, we can do this. It's fine. Maybe turn it. Yes, fine. Go on.
I was just gonna say that I could relate to the cutting your hair thing, like when you talked about cutting your hair, because when I was about 10, or I think I was like 10, I had long curly hair, curly afro, and then one of my friends had like a short cut, and I thought it was really cute, and she had different types of curls because she was mixed with a little bit more white in her, so she had looser curls, and for some reason I just thought it was going to work for me, and I cut like half of my hair off, and it was like up to there when it was down there before, and my mom was pissed. She wasn't happy. So
I think we all can try, to be honest. But thank you for sharing that experience.
Yeah.
I started relaxing my hair at 11 years old as well, which
is terrible.
Steph, where did you go? What happened?
Technical difficulties, but I'm back.
Back. Oh, amazing. Sita, do you have anything to say? Any comments?
Yeah, so I relate to what everyone's saying. I think our hair journeys, living in a Western country, are difficult, and there is that pressure. Being of mixed heritage, I was used to be looking at my white cousins and wanting my hair to look like theirs and just to be straight and blonde, because I thought, when I was really small, I'm going to be more accepted if I look like that, and I felt like, an odd one out amongst them. And I've had harassment in jobs that I've done. So, for example, like Saturday jobs that I had. One Saturday job I had, the manager was saying that I needed to make my hair smaller, and that a sales assistant wasn't supposed to be glamorous and ostentatious. Yeah, it says too much hair on my head, effectively. So yeah, I've had all of those kind of experiences, and the hand coming for your hair, and that's just like no for me. So, hearing Ade say yes, you'll let somebody, I'm like, no, that's when I'm really gonna freak out. If I see a hand coming for my hair, and it has happened. And sometimes people get there before you've got a chance to stop them in their tracks. But that is really annoying. I think the thing that makes me really angry, given the age I am and all the stuff that we've already gone through with our hair, is that there are children being sent home from school and suspended from school because of their hairstyle. And I just think this is just ridiculous. In the time we are now, we're still having to have those conversations and arguments, and people are having to run massive, parents having to run massive campaigns to stop this kind of policing of hair. So our hair shouldn't be policed at school. It shouldn't be policed at work. My son's hair was in cane row up until he was going through secondary school. And he should be free, do you know what I mean, to style his hair, and for me to dictate how his hair should be. And I know that the pressure, particularly on black women, when it comes to workplaces and you're going to interviews thinking you're not even going to get a foot in the door if your hair doesn't look a certain way. This culture of judging us by our hair, which is deeply racist, is allowed to continue. It needs to stop, basically. Our hair should have no bearing on whether or not we're going to complete our studies, whether or not we can do a good job. In 2020, we shouldn't, to how deep-rooted and how horrific racism, institutional systemic racism still is today, that we are having to have those conversations, and we are being attacked for how we've styled our hair in a school or in a workplace. This shouldn't be happening to the next generation.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think sometimes people pick and choose when to use black fashion and black culture and black hairstyles. And when you start focusing on like criminality or police justice, people can shy away from that. I'm not a fan of when I see cultural appropriation all over my Instagram feed, and there's no sort of recollection, or there's no just appreciation for where it came from, like Kim Kardashian when she has dreads, or I feel like that family does exploit black culture a lot, but let's not get into that. Do you think that sometimes like the fashion industry uses black that Black culture to to buy or to sell to consumers? Do you think that that happens a lot, or do you have an opinion on that at all? Anyone?
I think it's been happening for a long time. Um, um, so I think that, can you hear me?
I can hear
Sorry.
you a little bit. Yeah, continue.
Can you hear me?
No, you're cutting off a
Anybody?
bit.
No, the sound gone. So I think that's been happening in the fashion. No? Oh,
Yeah,
is that
go
any
on.
better?
Yeah, better, yeah.
So I think that that's been happening in the fashion industry for a long time, but I think it's been happening in all sorts of industries for a long time. So, you know, you were talking about making your natural products for your hair. So if you look at companies like Body Shop, what have been doing, you know, going around the world and finding out about traditional
You're breaking up, Zita.
products and then making of a culture and embracing somebody else's culture and appropriation. So, white person, side of your child, and embrace that child, embrace the culture they're coming from. That's earlier, didn't we, about identity comes to, you know, races on the street. But appropriation happens far too often, I think, and that's why we have a lot of people who work in the arts. For example, actors and musicians who are Black and British have found that they felt they had to go to the USA to even make a career because they didn't get the recognition or the platforms that they should have for their talents. Yet when a white artist comes along,
Zita? I think she's frozen. Okay, so
in England and more white.
okay, I think Zita's connection isn't the best, so let's let that settle.
But we have to.
Okay, right, so we're going to move on to the freestyle. She did lose connection, unfortunately, but I liked how we start speaking about Black hair. Thank you, Stephanie, for your poem. I love to elaborate and have these discussions. I think they're really important, especially like the school kids who are being sent out of school because of their hairstyle. There's recently, I think, a girl won a payout of like £8,000 because she was told to leave school primarily because of her hairstyle, which is ridiculous. You shouldn't have to do that, but at least she received some money, so that's good. At least we need to do the freestyle now. I'm not a massive freestyle fan, but I want to be involved because it seems like fun. So I'm going to give you random words. We can begin with Steph, because Steph seems to be like freestyle maestro. You can think at the top of her head. Is that yes? Yes?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. So the first word is communication.
Communication. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Shall I start?
Go for it.
What am I going to say? Okay. Communication. Okay, Stephanie, I can't do it. Well, communication is what I do every day. We go out, we play, and sometimes we forget who's the person that we want to speak to every day. But we lose connections whenever we talk on our phones. And sometimes our phones are more of a sometimes our phones can be like a distraction, and we get so lost into what we're doing, we lose connection. And connection really is about love and trust and loyalty and being vulnerable. But without connection, we can't be with each other. I lost connection a few months ago during the lockdown with some people that weren't really my friends, but the ones that were close to me were continued to stay connected. If that, yeah, that's what I'm on. Yeah.
Lovely.
Go on, Steph. Communication or
Okay.
connection.
All of that. Okay. I find it funny how vulnerability is always one of the main reasons that we lose track of communication. Always trying to play our hearts as our shelf line. We don't want to be put on the shelf life, so we continue holding on to our shelves tight. I don't want to lose communication, but I don't want to look like I'm chasing. So I resist the temptation to hold back, and I try and act as if I'm waiting, but I'm not patient. Out here trying to act like I'm okay with your low-key communication when I want to be in person every day on the phone, or at least speaking on text. But give me the patience of getting to know me, knowing that I'm a complicated soul. It's only through communicating that you can get to know me, get to know the layers to a person. Everyone's got onions layers that you've got to peel back. Each layer that you peel back, you're getting another fraction of their mind, another energy, another persona. You get their soul in one divine moment with communication.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. Okay, that's really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Ade, do you want to have your little say?
Do I have a say
Yeah, go
on
on.
communication?
Yeah.
I'm no good at this. It's just me.
Just
You can
say
fool
what comes
myself.
to your mind. It's okay.
I like how our hands seem to have their own conversations apart from our mouth. I like how we tell things we can't seem to say out aloud. In these spaces in between our fingers, and they fit perfectly. There are no walls. There are no secrets. I like how our hands fit together. At times we can't seem to speak. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
That was so different.
Yeah. I'm willing to go again. Let's see how this could work.
Yeah? Okay. Anyone else want to say anything about communication or connection? No? Okay, so the next word is lost. The word is lost. So sometimes I feel lost when I'm in a room full of people and I'm struggling to get my words out. I want to say certain things, but my inner self tells me no. My inner self tells me to stay rigid, to stand up tall, because your inner voice isn't the inner voice isn't good enough. But sometimes when you feel lost, you end up becoming someone that you don't want to become. You end up falling into the wrong hands or being with the wrong person or the wrong guy when you're lost. But when you have direction in Christ, direction in your spirit, that's when you start to find the inner self, and the inner self comes out. It becomes more of it's free in a sense, and you can belong to your real self and you can find who you are. And yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay, next. I'm not a poet, guys.
Are you sure?
I hate when I really
Still
get
poet.
to somewhere and I find myself off track, trying to rebalance my footsteps. I feel like I'm under attack when anxiety kicks in and you feel like you need to step back because you're going forward in the wrong direction. but we never know when we're taking the right or wrong direction because there's so many twists and turns. Our minds playing tricks on us. They tell us that we're lost even when we're found. When we're closer to our goals, we always feel like we're touching ground, but there is always a balance, never an up or a down. It's always going to recenter. Never lost, always found. But are you lost when you decide that you're going off track, when you purposely decide to divert your attentions and try to avoid your obligations and not see seriousness around you as an obligation? Instead, you pass it on to a neighbor, feeling lost in your own tracks, trying to cover your own back, you lose yourself.
Oh my gosh, lost and found. How do you think of this? Anyway, that's incredible. Anyone else have anything they want to say? If they've changed their mind or doing the freestyle, it's okay. Sarah?
I was thinking.
I had a question. Because of being cut off, I've lost what we did. So lost. See, look, I'm even saying lost.
You lost!
It wasn't even intentional. So what is it? We're using the word lost to come up with something.
Yeah,
That's what we're doing. Okay, all right. Adi was trying to come in.
Oh, we can't hear you. Oh. Ade, are you going to speak on Lost?
All right. When he said, can you hear me? Yeah. When he said lost, I was thinking miscommunication. Like that's being misunderstood. I kind of kept the same vein. Is it so bad then to be misunderstood? Pythagoras was misunderstood, and Socrates, and Jesus, and Galileo, and Newton, and every pure wise spirit. Whatever flesh, maybe it's great to be misunderstood. Maybe it's great to be lost. All right. That's it.
That's good. Okay. Anyone else? Zita, do you want to talk on being lost or lost?
Lost. Okay. Sometimes I lose my way, wonder how I'm going to get through another day. Find my life is in disarray when all I want is to be free, just to be me. Instead, I'm lost. Don't know how I'm going to find my way. Don't know when I'm going to be free. Don't know how I am ever going to be me. Then I focus my mind, and in the deepest place, I find a route, a way to take me through to the next day, to the next phase, to the next part of my life, and I feel I can live again.
Hey! Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, okay, guys, this is actually really fun, but it's hard. Like, it makes you think, but I'm glad that everyone's relaxing and getting words out. It's really happy. So, anyone else want to say anything?
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, go on.
Can you guys hear me okay?
It's a bit, there's a bit of feedback, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Thought I fixed it.
Maybe stand back a bit further back from the microphone.
Is that better?
A little bit, that's fine. Go ahead.
Found in a place unrecognized, with nothing but pain, fear, and confusion in my eyes. Looking to a better time when I knew myself more than I do right now. It's clear to me that I'm not lost. I'm finding myself more and more each day. I'm helping myself and healing myself trying to make the pain go away. Praying to God to give me strength to keep going on this path. Wipe the tears from my eyes, stand tall, no more looking back.
Oh, okay. That was really good. Well done. The fact that you guys can just rhyme off the top of your head beats me. I don't know.
Not easy
So
for me.
yeah, but you did really well. You started talking about fear and yeah, it was just incredible. I wish we could record this so I can look back. Oh, it's recording. So the next word will be powerful. I feel like we should have some sort of something positive. What gives you power? I feel powerful when I step into a room and I can speak my mind. I feel powerful when I can host events like this and not crumble, but actually do really well. I feel powerful when I can give advice to my little sister on being secure in herself. I feel powerful when I can help vulnerable people. I feel powerful when I can speak and I have a voice and I'm heard. I feel powerful when I'm in a meeting and I can articulate myself well. I feel powerful when I can check my bank account and there's money in there. I feel powerful when people give me responsibilities. I feel powerful when I can express myself as an individual who is operating in a system that doesn't help me. I feel powerful when I can give my mama a hug. I feel powerful and all types of realms. Yeah, powerful. Next person.
Okay. I feel at my strongest when I can understand my thought process, when I am able to engage my audience without having to second guess myself, when I can stand tall in a room and be at my best and I am prepared. Being prepared makes me feel like a champion when I can step into any place and know that I can get on with people, have the social skills to engage anyone, be able to take anyone out of their quietest shell when I can be my best. I want to be powerful all the time. I want to be powerful in the sense that I am grateful for everyday blessings, seeing everyday lessons as something that is going to make me triumph in my future trials. I want to be powerful in the sense that I never doubt. I want to be able to believe in people without feeling a shadow of doubt and believe in myself without feeling unquestionable. That's powerful.
That's very powerful. Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Who's going? All right. Okay. Can everybody take their mics off? I just want to try an experiment, please. It's gonna be a bit of an experiment. I don't know if it'll work.
Okay, let's see.
When I point at you, I want you to say powerful. All right.
But I'm not sure.
So when I point, yeah, just everybody just say powerful. I want to see if this works.
But all of
If you could take everybody's voices,
okay.
yeah. It's just an experiment. All right.
Powerful.
Yeah. So when I raise my hands, just say powerful. Yeah.
Powerful.
There's a voice inside of you
Powerful.
that whispers all day long.
Powerful.
I feel that this is right for me. I know that this is wrong, but it is no teacher but
Powerful.
it's no preacher but
Powerful.
it's no parent, friend, or wise old man who decides what's right for you. Just listen to that voice inside of you, and you'll hear how loud it speaks because you are
Powerful.
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 Love that.
I like that. I like the experience. It was cool.
Cool.
Anyone else wants to?
I'll go.
Yeah. Go on.
Okay. What is power? Is it dictatorship, or is it kinship? Is it love? Is it hate? To me, power is empowerment. Empowerment of myself, empowerment of others, the empowerment to stand up, the empowerment to speak out, the empowerment to walk outside, to speak my mind, to stand up for my rights, to stand up for others, to stand up with others, collectivity, unity, solidarity. To me, that's where the power lies.
Oh, wow. That's really good. Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to say? Okay. So I'm going to sing a song, not a song, but like a intro to a song that I have written. I'm a singer. I'm kind of just starting out, but I hope you guys enjoy this. It's about freedom. Can you hear me well? Yeah, okay. What is freedom? What is the cause? Can you see them fighting wars? What can I do to please you? What is freedom? What is the cause? That's it.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So we're going to have, thank you. So we're going to have a freestyle from Steph, if I'm correct. Are you happy to do one more freestyle?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes? Okay, can I give you a word?
Everyone give me a word.
Everyone give her a word. Okay. I have silence. Silence.
Okay.
Injustice.
Silence, injustice.
Mango.
Silence, injustice, mango.
Mango.
Fruit.
flying,
Playing.
flying, flying.
Flying. Silence, injustice, mango, flying.
Truth.
Truth. Okay. Silence, injustice, mango, flying, truth. Okay. If I forget one, just remind me. Silence, injustice, flying, truth. Okay. Which one do I want to start with? Let's start with silence. I find it so powerful how people are able to mute themselves when they're in an uncomfortable. Start again. Silence is when you're brave enough to be quiet in a room full of loudness. When you understand the engagements around you, but you're flying in your mind so you are able to stay dilute. You are so aware of your surroundings that every plane that flies by you, you're able to read out the side notes on it, able to tell us what the plane gear is, and able to tell us the truth of how long it will take to land, able to know the flight times of the pilot before he's even stepped foot on the plane. I want to know the truth of your inner soul. I want to know what makes you tick, what makes you shine. How did you get your divine glory? And how do you know when you're on the right path? Tell me how sweet your mangoes are when you cut into them at night. Are you a mango lover who has them just before you go to bed? Or are you someone who has them throughout the day, keeping your energies going? I want you to tell me your truth as you slice into your mango, feel the juices slip down your throat, as you feel one little bit of drop down your shirt. You go to clean it up, knowing the truth is it's going to stay there. You kind of like the fragrance, so you're going to let it aroma there. You like the injustice of not knowing that it's justice to be in your element. Facing injustice on an everyday life battle. We get on buses where people want to sit next to us during a COVID. Why are you sitting next to me when we're in a pandemic? I don't think you understand the injustice you're facing upon me. Trying to put me in my place and making me feel uncomfortable to chase you because I don't want you standing. But at the same time, I'm trying to be a nice person about it. I've forgotten one word.
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't. I did all 5. Yep, did it. Yeah, that was it.
amazing.
That was it.
Well done. That is that's talent.
Fire.
Skill.
I'm actually in awe of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is talent. Can we just all state our social medias on here, please? So if I direct the first person, just to make it clear. Ade, can you tell everyone your social media?
You can find me Ade G on Facebook, Stalin Ade on Twitter. That's the main things you can find me. You can link for me anywhere else from that.
Okay, on Facebook and Twitter. Zita, where can everyone find you?
So on Facebook, I have a page which is Zita Holborn Poets Artists, and then my organisation Barrack UK page, or Black Activists Rising Against Cuts group.
Very soon, okay.
On Zita Barrack UK, and the other one is Barrack UK Original. Twitter is Barrack UK. What have I left out? YouTube, Zita Holborn, Poet Activist. SoundCloud, Zita Holborn. I think that's everything.
Hey. Amy?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Naomi J Soya. That's NAAMIJSOYA. And you can also find my poetry on Tumblr. So it's tumblr.com/dear-nay, dear-nay. And then I also have my personal website, which will be on my Instagram.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to follow you on TikTok because I love TikTok. And Sarah, please state your social media.
You can follow my poetry page at A Powerful Word, and find me on all other social media, Insta, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, at It's Sarah Louise, Louise with 2 U's. Yeah.
Okay. Also, Sarah runs a lip gloss business. As you can see, her lips are glistening. Definitely check that out because I need to purchase some more. But I do want to say thank you everyone for participating. You've been incredible. You've been I feel like I've expressed myself to a bunch of strangers or people that I don't really know, but we've created some sort of community here, and I really love that. I would like to say thank you to the special guest, activist, writer, Zita Holborn, and the poets, writers and performers, Parry Richards, who had to leave, Stephanie Robinson, Ade G, Naomi Jane Sawyer, and Sarah Louise. That's all from us today at BlackFest. Please like us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our mailing list. We are also on YouTube. If you'd like to work with BlackFest, please feel free to check on the website and give a donation. BlackFest are always making posts, we're always bringing people together. We celebrate a lot of culture. We give voices to people who aren't heard. So please check BlackFest out. You can find more on www.blackfest.co.uk. I'm your host, Tara Mataba. Thank you for joining the show today. I hope you really enjoyed our performances, or I hope you enjoyed the entire show. Please check out the next event, which is for Black LGBT. This is very thought-provoking and it is a really crucial event, so please take part. But also, I'd like to thank you to the performers. Claire, I really loved listening to your poems. It was incredible. It was beautiful. And any last words? Anyone have to say anything?
Just thank you for having me. Anybody out there that's watching and you're thinking of writing poetry, but you're not sure and you're not feeling confident, just write. Write for yourself. Write what you feel. Write what's in your soul. Don't write for an audience. Don't write for anybody else. But also, don't be afraid to get out there. There's loads of open mic events that, you know, really family orientated and safe spaces for you to try out sharing your poetry and connecting with others. And yeah, you know, you can post your poetry online and share it with your friends, but you could just write it for yourself. It's a form. We were talking about self-care, and it's a form of healing and therapy and processing how you're feeling, just to write. So don't be afraid to write what you feel, and don't be afraid to share what you write.
It can be hard when you're like start something creative. Just say how you're feeling, and then I guess try to piece everything together to make sure that it's in a certain format. But thank you, Zita. I liked how we touched upon mental health, race, privilege, colorism, abortion very briefly, history. We touched upon like an array of issues, and I hope.
Black hair.
Sorry?
I said black hair.
Oh, black hair, of course. As you, yeah, black hair is yeah, we touched upon a lot of topics. We also have a BlackFest live lounge on the 15th of every month. So please definitely check out BlackFest. And as your host, I'd like to say thank you to the audience for participating, for getting involved, for sharing this post to your friend or to your auntie. I know some of you are doing that. And I hope everyone has a very good evening. So that's the end of the Spoken Word Night. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to meet you all now, okay?